Welcome to Granny's Peach Tea. Sorry for the slight delay that we may have had. Oh yeah, Jason. By the way,
Nice,
Uh-huh.
nice, nicely done.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very
Yeah,
good. That's
nicely
well
done.
done.
So, are you going to be drinking that tonight? Is that
This is
it-
actual peach tea. I'm
it's
not
actual-
kidding. Literally peach tea.
nice? So it's not special granny brewed. It's just peach tea.
It changes week to week. You never know.
Thank God for that.
As long as it doesn't look a little bit yellow, then I think I'm good. Oh yeah. By the way, welcome to a brand new episode. We're excited to be here. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us for the live show on our new night on Wednesdays, we decided to move it from Tuesday to Wednesday to accommodate for the two CW shows. One of them started this week, which was Superman and Lois had the premiere. We'll dive into that in a little bit. And The Flash is returning next week. So we didn't want to be a week behind and constantly and dragging on. So we didn't want to be the last people to the party. So here we are. But thanks for joining us. If you're joining us on Facebook, whatever group it is, Granny's Peach Tea, Pop Culture Pros, any of the other shows, thanks a lot. If you're joining on the podcast, on the audio version, audio only version, which is Spotify or wherever, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast from, thanks for that, or YouTube or Instagram. We're all over the place. We are everywhere. But with me, as always, I got Tony Stabile. Tony, what's up?
What's going on, guys? Nice to be here, Chig, once again. Our weekly. I look forward to this every week. This I could, because I watch this stuff and I want to text you guys so bad, and I'm like, no, I gotta wait. So I mean, I'm very excited. I'm happy that we're going to be able to talk about some really, really fun stuff this week. So I'm welcome everybody. Glad you guys are able to join us.
And with us always is Jason. What's up, Jay?
How's it going? Pleasure to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk a little Aquaman. I'm excited to talk a little WandaVision. I'm very excited to talk a little Black Lightning. We'll get into it, Ed. But Ed and Tony are my Facebook friends, so I've been doing a little back diving into the Lightning verse.
Yeah,
excited. Very excited for this.
Yeah, Jason's all in on Black Lightning, man. I love it. It's almost like a little bit of a proud papa here. That was yes, I got him into this.
You got me into it. You hooked me.
Dragged him in, man. I should have just during those movie premieres that we go to. I should just talked it up more, but
you should have just been like, all right, it's now 20 minutes that you're gonna have to listen to me talk about Black Lightning until you watch the damn show. That's what you should have done.
Exactly. I mean. Well, we'll get into that. We're gonna actually get kicked off though with some news because there was a lot of news this week. So we're gonna run through it pretty quick. We did post a bunch of it on our Facebook page if you caught that, but we'll catch you up though. Supergirl is apparently joining the DCEU and not the CW version. We're getting a brand new Supergirl in the DCEU. Flash director Andy Muschietti, I could be butchering his name. I could not. We'll see. I apologize if I am butchering it. Revealed that Sasha Callie, another name that I've not verbally heard, so it could be more butchering on my part, has been cast as Supergirl in The Flash. I checked out her IMDb, and she's pretty much been on soap operas. So they have casted. They went through a long casting call for this. They interviewed a lot of actresses. And this is their pick. I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch it, but apparently they did it on like a Zoom call or something like that. He was just talking to her and stuff like that, and then just pulled out the suit. And you see the S stand, she like covers her face and loses it. It was a pretty awesome reveal, in my opinion. Do I want to ask? Are either of you guys familiar with any of her work? Because I can admit I'm not.
Nope.
I'm not, but I mean, from what I see, she looks like she's a good fit for the part, and that's, I think in a superhero anything, I think the look is key, right? And I don't think she should be discounted because if her work was largely soap operas, because I want to remind everyone that Sarah Michelle Gellar, who became iconic as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, got her start doing mostly just soap opera work. So, good actresses and actors can come out of this work. So I'm gonna, as much as I like to hold out my thoughts and reservations, I think this could be a good call.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tony, like, what are your thoughts on, like, because one thing I did notice, like, she's she's got like brown, black hair, like dark hair and stuff like that. Do you think that's something that they'll keep, or do you think they'll make her go with a traditional like blonde look for or something?
I would probably assume that they'll want to go the blonde route. I mean, it's just it is kind of character specific. Typically, you do that when you're as part of your casting. You want someone that kind of fits the part.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I saw this. Anything that has to do with DCU, obviously, I'm excited for. I'm very excited for the Flash movie, but the news I want to hear is about Henry Cavill. That's what I want to hear. I don't really want to hear about anybody else that they're adding until I know for sure that Henry Cavill is either locked up into another contract with Warner Brothers and is going to be seen as Superman again, either in his own film or another one. But that's really what when I hear super, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't care about anybody else. I want to know about Henry Cavill. That is my Superman. That's who I want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we professed our love for Henry Cavill a few weeks ago when we did Man of Steel and we talked about BVS. But I don't know. I don't know why. I have a feeling they're not going to go with the traditional blonde hair look. I think she's going to kind of just go with it as she is. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I mean, this is Hollywood. You just throw on a wig or hair dye or whatever the hell. You can change it in 2 seconds. But I don't know. I just have a weird feeling they might go with like a slightly different look this time around. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the character at all. It doesn't do anything in that regard. But
I mean, you could do whatever you want. I mean, look. I mean, Marvel casted Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, who in the comics was a white guy. So I mean, you could do that. I mean, you can do whatever you want. So I mean, why not? So if they if they feel that they want her to keep her normal hair, then they will. But typically, when when you're looking at I want to say iconic character, because Supergirl really wouldn't be an iconic character, but when you're looking at a character as well known as Supergirl, you probably want to kind of have the look.
Yeah. So we'll say it's funny you bring up Nick Fury because it made me think back to I'm in my mind I'm visioning Sam Jackson as Nick Fury as we all know him now, and that's pretty much what's known as. And then I thought about David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury on the made-for-TV film that was what it was.
I forgot we really about that.
Oh, I can never forget about that.
We have to cover that on this show at some point.
Please, no, please, no.
Jason,
no, please.
I think we are.
Oh.
If it's on YouTube for free, maybe. I don't think we want to pay for it.
Tony, do I hear you trying to hassle the Hoff, my friend? You don't hassle the Hoff.
Well, okay, look. All right, I'm going to tell you right now. All right, I'm going to say this right now. If we have to do that, okay, if we have to do a deep dive into that mess, okay, on your Empire 161, you have to do the Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh, Tony. You don't understand. Me and Tim have already talked about it. We are so doing a holiday special at some point. It might be next Christmas show.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of this. You know what I'm saying? We will watch bad shit to watch bad shit.
But by the way, if you need a guest star, I'm there.
I was just going to say the same thing. I was going to say the same thing. Put me on that show.
All right, we will say this right now. Tim, whenever you get around to watching this, we're doing a Star Wars holiday special, Empire 161, in the next off season. We're going to have a 4-person panel. We're going to have a collision of worlds of Granny's Peach Tea, Empire 161 crossover episode, and that's what we're going to use it on. We're going to use it on our damn Star Wars holiday special.
Bro, when we start talking about the Wookiees, man, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to lose my shit. I really am. I'm gonna be. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get through anything.
There's the boss who's in there. What's up, fellas? Up in the mountains with 1945 internet. So I'll catch up on this one over the weekend. Have a great show, and thanks to all of what you do.
Thank you. Enjoy the mountains.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy the trip.
I want to hear more about what goes on in the mountains.
You don't want to know. The things that go on in the mountains.
Yeah, with 1945 internet. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. It was like,
look, I have my Star Wars shirt on here, bro.
Ready to go.
I got my Star Wars shirt on. I'm ready to go. Oh, sign me up.
So let's roll on to the next piece of DCEU news. So Angel Manuel has been announced as the director of Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle is, a DC character that really hasn't gotten, too much attention to this point, but apparently he's joining the DCU. So Warner Brothers announced they have a director for it. And they're going to go with the Jamie Reyes version of the character, which is actually the third incarnation of Blue Beetle. He was the third one to take up the mantle. He's also a member of the Teen Titans in the comics. Are you guys familiar with Blue Beetle at all, or not? Or
not really?
I know. I think
not really.
Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Also, if I remember, I think he was also featured in that as well. I'm admittedly not too familiar with the character. I mean, I've heard of him and stuff, and I think I've seen some stuff briefly with him on it. But I mean, the way I see it, it's pretty cool that we're getting new characters in the DCU that are not connected directly to Batman or Superman, per se. We've gotten Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, or Birds of Prey in the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I don't know what was that the original title? I don't know if I nailed it.
Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yeah, so
which is the absolutely worst title I have ever heard in my entire life.
Terrible title, great movie though.
We're going to cover that. We're going to cover that
coming up.
But that's why they changed it. They changed it to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey. We're just going to leave it at that, and that's it. Keywords only.
That's it. Smart move. We don't need a 20 paragraph sentence. Just keywords.
You should have saw the sign in Times Square that they had with the whole the writing, and then they changed it. They blacked it out. It was ridiculous. But it took up so much real estate on the sign. I mean, it almost was bigger than her.
Yeah, so I'm personally pretty, I'm excited to see what they do with Blue Beetle. I don't know too much about the character, but I mean, why not? I mean, you're changing it up. You're getting to something. It's not just a spin-off of something that we have already seen. We'll get into it more later, but when I heard them announce a show or a movie, a potential spin-off of Aquaman about the trench, I'm like, really? Do I care about the trench? It seems like a random thing to be like, oh yeah, let's spin this off.
It was James Wan that wanted to do it. So that is the only thing that actually makes me a little bit interested in it, because I mean, look, we're gonna get into Aquaman tonight, but I mean, that dude, if what he did with Aquaman, if he does that with a movie about the trench, I would be interested in that. So.
And he's a horror guy, and that would lend itself to be a horror type movie. So if James Wan is in it, I'm in. Yeah, right. If James Wan is in it, makes sense.
Right, and that whole sequence with the trench I thought was awesome. So I mean, the way that they looked and the whole underwater scene of getting down there, I mean, that was just perfect. So if he was going to, I think, because they mentioned it in the movie about, I guess, how they were part of the of the kingdoms, and then that they kind of just, I don't know, something happened with them, and then they went down. They just basically became these savages. So I would assume that the story would be the backstory of how that happened. And that could be interesting. I mean, that's James Wan, so it could be interesting. It could be interesting.
So, I mean, listen, I'm just excited about seeing a new character in the DCU that we're getting. One that's not as well known. I mean, for some fans it is. For others it's not. But I'm pretty cool to see that. I'm also curious to see who they get to play Jamie Reyes. I know the fan casting, of course, already started, and people are running crazy with the kid that plays that's in Cobra Kai. The one who plays Johnny's student who got paralyzed. Damn it, the character's name isn't coming to me right now. But I mean, that's the only thing I've ever seen. I mean, I'd be pretty cool if that's the way they go, or because he's a teenager. Jamie Reyes is a teenager, so they're gonna have to go with somebody pretty young, in this role.
I like the idea that DC is trying something a little bit different. I like the idea that they're using maybe a lesser known character or a less popular character and trying to build some other storylines other than trying to redo Batman or redo Superman or So I like that idea. I mean they've seen it's worked for Marvel. So hopefully they look at the idea as okay, we'll take a maybe a lesser known character, make a really good movie about it, and people will be happy to go and see it, and then that'll become a popular character. And there's plenty of DC to do it. There's plenty of characters in the DC universe to go around. So hopefully that this is the reason why they're starting to do these things, realizing that they can make a good movie and then have more characters than what they currently have.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line. Just make a damn good movie and bring out, and you can make the characters great. There's a lot of Marvel's done some stuff with some characters that were much lesser known, and now they're like top of the line, and then they get pushed into comics as well, to be front and center, and then it all works out. Just bottom line, make a damn good movie.
Yeah, look at Vision. Vision was a forgotten character in the Marvel universe, and look at where he is.
Yeah.
And I actually like the idea of the DCEU exploring these little known characters, because I think that's kind of the fun for fans like me, who I know some but I don't know a lot, is, well, now I get to learn about a whole new comic book character I didn't know before. And I think that, that's an experience a lot of us can have. And also it gives them a lot more wiggle room. Their people are militant about how they want their Batman and their Superman and their Wonder Woman, but they can kind of play around with this, and I think that's where the DCU needs to go. Places they can play around and have fun with these characters.
Great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we flip over to the Marvel side of things. And then we see that there was this crazy rumor that a lot of the trades had picked up on, and it ran wild. And honestly, you would think that this may have been something that we would be joking about. We got this covered on and poking fun at them with. But there was this thing going on that, Jennifer Lawrence is in the new Fantastic Four movie, and she's heading to Australia to shoot. And they were like, we don't know who she's cast as. And obviously everyone jumped to Sue Storm. So let's just take a look at this for a second. Look at the facts first. Fact number 1, John Watts, who is currently directing Spider-Man No Way Home, which is shooting right now, will not be shooting that film, working on that on set, and also be in Australia at the same time to work on Fantastic Four, because he's also directing Fantastic Four. Like, that's officially out of Kevin Feige's mouth that is the thing. Okay? And then the other news that came this week that made this sound completely insane was the fact that Marvel announced that they have begun the search for writers for Fantastic Four. So the film doesn't have writers yet, and the director is currently shooting another film for the same, for the same company.
Studio.
Yeah. Obviously, she's not in Fantastic Four. Clearly not. So, just bizarre. And I don't, and just speaking for her specifically, she might end up being Sue Storm, though. Who the hell knows? Like, I don't think there's a connection here. I'm not saying it's 100% off the table. Maybe we all don't get our John Krasinski, Emily Blunt as Reed and Sue casting. Let's just say, but I'm saying for the sake of argument, let's pretend we don't, and somehow Jennifer Lawrence is actually cast as Sue Storm one day. We know it's not fact now, but let's just throw it out there. What do you guys think of Jennifer Lawrence taking a crack at Sue Storm if that were to actually happen, which it is currently not the case?
You want to go first, Jason?
Yeah, because I think you have more to say on it than I do. It looks. I got no problem with Jennifer Lawrence as an actress. I liked her as Mystique. I've seen other stuff that I thought she was fine in. She's not my first choice. I wouldn't be super excited. And to be honest with you, with kind of the way she was with her role in Marvel, with her pulling out so far to the fact that it was like at some point it was obvious she was there just because they had her under contract. She wasn't putting much into it. Like, I don't know if I'd be excited to have her in something like the MCU, because what's to say she's not gonna get bored after three movies or 3 appearances, and then all of a sudden it's like Jennifer Lawrence phoning it in again. So would I think she would be a good Sue Storm? Sure. Do I want to see her as Sue Storm? No.
So is it because you're holding out for Emily Blunt still, or is it because?
Well, no, it's more because I saw Jennifer Lawrence's track record when she gets bored or becomes whatever, no pun intended, disenfranchised with a franchise, and the MCU is this is a franchise world building thing, and I don't want if the Fantastic Four are going to be a pivotal part of the upcoming phase, and I'm sure they will, because they're they're the quartet that founded the Marvel Universe, then I want someone who I am sure is going to be in for a long haul, and not someone who's going to sort of start phoning it in if they don't want to be there, like she did in those X-Men movies. So that's it. It's just it's not even I love Emily Blunt, but it's just I guess what I'm saying is I don't trust Jennifer Lawrence to be in for it. And now whoever they get for Sue Storm needs to be in for the ride, because it's not like the Fantastic Four are going to come and then go right away. This is going to be like an Iron Man thing, like a Robert Downey Jr. You're in for a long time. Yeah, so that's my hesitation with her.
No, that's all totally valid points. Tony, what do you think?
I agree with Jason 100%. I mean, when she was cast as Mystique, you know, I was excited because she was a young and up and coming actress. She had street cred already from her performances early on, and she was great in First Class. I mean, she was great in First Class. And then you saw as we went through Days of Future Past, she was less and less of Mystique, as because you started to hear the rumors that she hated going through the makeup and she didn't want to go through the hours of getting prepared to be, to be Mystique. And then when you got to Apocalypse, which was a shit show in itself, she wasn't a Mystique at all. Hardly. Like, what was it? Like one or two scenes where she showed up. So to me, it's like at that point she's trying to mail it in because she wasn't thrilled with the contract that she signed, having to go through all this makeup and these scenes where she had to be Mystique and so on and so forth. So, look, you said it perfectly, Jason. I want someone who's going to be invested in this part. These parts are not some throwaway moneymaker parts anymore. Okay, these movies make money. You're spending money, time. You're spending time going to see it. You're invested in the universe. You're invested in what you're watching. I want someone who wants to be in the part, who wants to play the character, and I want them to play it properly. Not that they're going to bitch and complain about how they're going to have to, how long they're going to have to be in makeup and so on and so forth. Getting paid millions of dollars to be on, in a film like this and being these characters and so on and so forth. But shit, how long you got to sit in a chair and put makeup on? You sign a contract, you're getting paid the money, do what you got to do. So I want someone who wants to be in that role no matter what. So I could take it or leave it at this point. I'm a fan of Jennifer Lawrence. I like a lot of the stuff that she does, but if she's not totally on board or whatever it takes, then I could do without it. And we'll just bring Reed into the picture here. There you go. See?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I second a lot of the points you guys made. I mean, she was great in First Class, one of my favorite X-Men movies, honestly. Days of Future Past, I was still good with her performance in Days of Future Past, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse,
yep.
It got real bad. She was phoning it in
Brutal.
like Bruce Willis style.
Brutal.
And then in Dark Phoenix, I mean, it was essentially they killed her off. And it was almost just like she was like, just please put me out of my misery. Just get rid of me in the first 15 minutes of this movie, so you can do whatever the hell you want with it. Just get me out of here. She was I think she may have been in the blue skin for like one scene in Dark Phoenix, but you can tell she was beyond over it. And yeah, if she's not going to, I mean, if you're signing an MCU contract at this point, that these things are 7-picture deals, 8-picture deals, maybe even more. You need to be in it for the long haul. And yeah, you're right. But on the positive side, though, if she did turn out to be, which is hypothetically, she is very talented. She'd probably make for a great Sue Storm, but there needs to be some sort of reassurance that you're in. Like, you're in this for the long haul. I mean, who knows? Maybe she got fed up also with the nonsense going on behind the scenes, and maybe she noticed, too, that the movies were getting bad with Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we don't know. We'll never know for sure what happens behind the scenes with that, but that could have contributed to her checking out. But
sure.
It's probably not worth the risk at this point, and I'm personally still holding out for Krasinski and Blunt I'm
on board with that.
And
all on board with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on board with that.
So no rush to get Jennifer Lawrence in there. All right. So earlier today, Kevin Feige dropped a bunch of stuff on us. So his deal.
I love when he does this. I love when he does these interviews and drops like 40 nuggets, and you're like, fuck, I don't even know what to talk about first.
Yeah, it's like by the way, before we jump to the next thing, I just saw that Bear dropped a comment on us getting bad. Yeah, I think when we decide to get into the Fox X-verse of stuff, I think Bear needs to make an appearance on the show because man, he hates that entire thing. Like
start to finish, like
everything,
like the very first one.
I don't want to speak on his behalf, but man, he's ripped him pretty much all a new one, and it's been on Facebook 1,000 times of me and him going back and forth, and I was defending certain things at certain points, and then Of course, shit got real bad then, and then I was like, all right, I have no defense. It sucks.
No. At some point, the X-Men and Sony stuff, there's no defense. Like,
yeah,
Age of Apocalypse, one of those movies for me, like Suicide Squad, where I go, click, okay, I like these characters, but like, there's no defending that movie. It's a terrible movie.
yeah, it's pretty brutal.
You might have more defense for Suicide Squad than you would have for Apocalypse.
Challenge
wow,
accepted.
that is
Challenge
a bold
accepted.
statement. Bold statement.
Yep.
So Feige
Yep.
spoke on a TCA panel, which I can't say that I'm too familiar with a TCA panel, but bottom line, he apparently jumped on a call on a TCA panel from the set of Miss Marvel, which is actually the Disney Plus show that's filming right now. But then after that, in a couple of weeks, there's She-Hulk. And then after that, they're getting into Moon Knight. Like, they're just one after another. They're going to be
firing them off, man.
These things out, man. So it's a lot of stuff to get excited about. But a couple of highlights from his comments, though. So he shared his doubts for a second season of WandaVision, since it leads directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is something that we had discussed on his show, quite a bit. That's the plan, which I thought is interesting, though, because, and I'll give props to Ashif because it came up during the conversation that we had. Originally, the plan was to release WandaVision, then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and then Spider-Man No Way Home, which feels nice to not call it Spider-Man 3 anymore, because when I say the word Spider-Man 3, I think of emo Peter dancing, and we don't want to do that anymore. So now,
we had this conversation this week. I never want to speak about that again, so keep going.
But we will.
Yeah, I know.
So, it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna be a good hurt.
It's gonna be a cathartic hurt.
It's not. No, it's not.
Tony,
it's not gonna be good.
So, Tony, we're gonna just put it to rest once and for all. It's gonna be like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where it's gonna throw the dirt on it and like that the guy did, and put Freddy to bed, like once and for all. That's what we're gonna do with that.
Could we please never speak of it again after we do whatever it is that we have to do for it? Like, please,
that's
never
fair.
again.
I think
please,
that's fair.
Just once.
As long as the Spider-Verse movies, the animated movies, don't keep referencing it for jokes.
No, you can reference all you want, as long as I don't have to speak about that 4-minute scene where he's. No, I'm not even saying it. I'm not saying it. Go, because I'm going to go off on a tangent. Go.
So. Apparently, like, there's not going to be a second season of WandaVision, which we've talked about, and we don't foresee that whatsoever happening. Because, again, like, the way he explains it quickly is that he was just like, the sequel is her appearing in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. We've told you guys this leads right into that.
Yeah.
The release order has me thinking a lot of different things, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes, regarding Spider-Man No Way Home. Because if they jumbled it around, maybe they're not as interconnected as we thought. But we do know Doctor Strange is also going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home. So I thought that was an interesting thing. He also dropped in the one that's a big deal is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is going to be dropping on in mid-March. It's going to be 6 episodes. We're only getting 6 of them, but they are going to be 1-hour episodes.
Okay.
Unlike that Fugazi thing that was running around on the internet that I actually looked at, and we talked about last episode that we were told that WandaVision, the last 3 episodes were going to be an hour, and we told that was.
I posted that.
No, and I saw it too, and I was like, he's right. He's probably right. I mean, but
it made sense.
It made sense.
Yeah.
But we know we're getting this. This is out of Feige's mouth saying that they're going to be 1-hour episodes, so that's cool. I mean, if you want to craft it for whatever reason it is to make it less episodes but more content, I mean, that's cool too.
And I like how he also explained that these shows are not cheap to produce. So that 6-hour kind of is the sweet spot for each thing. So that's why we got 9 episodes at about 40 minutes of WandaVision, and then we got 6 episodes of an hour each of Falcon Winter Soldier. So they're basically taking however they're writing this, and they're just sculpting it, saying, okay, this is the way we're going to have to do each individual show. So I like the fact that they're not keeping to a like a set system, that they're just doing whatever works for whatever they're writing.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting though too, because we're getting WandaVision, then there's the week off. And then, which they're going to be dropping their behind-the-scenes thing on Disney Plus, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier picks up. They go for 6 straight weeks, and then it ends around. Do you want to say May? And that's when now that we got the news that movie theaters will be reopening in New York City at 25% capacity, hopefully more by May. I think the big movies are going to start releasing. Like, that's when it is. We're actually going to see Black Widow in a theater, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to be super excited, and we're going to be shoving popcorn in our face and drinking big ass sodas, and it's going to be fantastic. It'll be the best popcorn you've ever had in your life. But it's actually coming. So I think it's cool that they're doing that. And I'm sorry, it was Falcon Winter Soldier. Then you get the break with Black Widow, so they're going to give it time to breathe. Then Loki, which was another thing that was dropped. That's going to be coming on June 11th. So it seems like they're going to give Black Widow its time to marinate, and everyone could see it a bunch of times and and freak out over it and that. And then we're going to jump back into the series. And then I know What If is also coming out this year. My guess is that comes out after Loki. That'll be an animated series that I'm super excited.
Shang-Chi comes out July 9th, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Eternals come out in November, and then No Way Home is supposed to come out December 17th. So we're just and then what? Hawkeye is supposed to come out this year also on Disney Plus, right?
We got a big year.
We're on overload. We're going to be on overload this year.
Start a show called Granny's Peach Tea to talk about this shit.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we're about to be in the multiverse of madness with all of this stuff and content coming at us, especially with Loki and What If, and it's like there's so much coming at us. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it's a bit bonkers. So that's cool. But he also did say though that some of the shows are going to have multiple seasons. Some of them that would be, he could foresee that. Falcon and Winter Soldier could be one that could have multiple seasons. WandaVision won't. Maybe Loki does. I know there was rumors about that already being a thing, but who the heck knows? It was nothing actually official. So we'll see. He also said that Deadpool is currently the only MCU franchise that he sees being R-rated. They're not saying that they purposely don't make R-rated movies. He was pretty clear about that. He's just like, we haven't gone there, but if it does change one day and we want to go there, maybe we do. Maybe with Blade they go there. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to make or break being R-rated or PG-13. I mean, honestly, the line is pretty thin these days on what it is. And if you drop an F-bomb or two, then I guess you're R-rated.
Right, and it's not like these movies have a ton of sex in it, or want them to have a ton of sex or cursing in it, like where we need the R rating, like for it to be adult.
Well, the only franchise other than Deadpool I could see that they possibly would need to do the R rating is anything with Wolverine, because you saw what the X-Men was like at PG-13, and then you saw Logan.
Yeah,
and when you saw a murderous, raving lunatic of Wolverine running around and just cutting people in half, and be putting his claws through people's skulls and shit. Like, I'm sorry, but people are going to want that from now on, because I know I do. That's what I want to see from now on. I want to see him going off crazy and taking some guy's head off. That's what I want to see. So I think that would be the only other one that would make sense. The other one, I mean, look, could you force the issue with some of these other characters? Sure, why not? But I think that the only Deadpool makes absolute sense, obviously, because it's a formula that works. You don't want to go away from it. But Wolverine, after seeing Logan and seeing him do those things and the graphic nature of everything, I would think that that's something that they have to at least think about whenever they go down that road.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be fine with it. I would be good either way. But I also know that they do plenty of violence in the MCU, and then they do it where they've avoided an R rating a lot. I mean, we've seen blood all the time, people getting shot, this and that. But they find ways to get around it too. So, I mean, again, that's not going to make or break anything. If Blade turns out to be it, fine. It doesn't have to. I know the old ones were R-rated, but it's not going to make them better.
The reason Deadpool needs to be R-rated is because the comic book itself and the character is gratuitous.
Yeah,
and you need the R rating, or you don't capture what that comic book character is about. So that's why I think like that's the only one that I can think of. You really need that hard R rating. Everything else, like Ed, as you said, there are ways to dance around the violence, in the R rating. And do we really need more than one F-bomb? I mean, even from Logan, I don't think I need my short Canadian buddy dropping F's and D's all over the place.
Yeah. Just thought it just went right out. Literally, you said something, and then you heard F's and D's, and I was like, yeah. And then I totally forgot what the fuck I was going to say. So thank you for that. I appreciate that so much.
Well, somebody's got you with the F.
Yeah, well,
So the last thing he acknowledged, though, is that he also acknowledged the former Netflix shows, which got some people excited. He acknowledged it. He talked about them quickly, and he talked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. He said both shows, or all the shows over there, they had a huge following. They're super popular, but he did his usual. Like, he gave them props, and then he's like, "We'll see." But he named them by names. He said Jessica Jones. He said Daredevil. He said Luke Cage. You notice he didn't say Iron Fist, but so
and that shocked me. I want you to know that totally shocked me.
Yeah, I think the one Netflix character I might have a little bit trouble seeing translated is Frank Castle, but we'll see. I mean, that would be kind of requiring a rating as well.
Well, it's funny you say that, because John Bernthal just recently was talking about Frank Castle, and he was not talking about him as if that was a dead issue. So, remember, look, just because something is not actively in the works doesn't mean that they haven't had conversations about, hey, this is where we think this might go. Are you interested in this? Because they can't go there. They're not going to do that, especially with a character like that. Like, if they're going to continue on, and you see the way that they weave these characters in and out. Look what they did with Evan Peters. He's obviously not Pietro Maximoff. Like, we know that. So, but he's shown up in WandaVision. So, so is there a way that they're gonna is Matt Murdock gonna show up as Peter Parker's lawyer? Like, that's been rumored all over the place. It's certainly possible. Does that mean he's going to be Daredevil in that movie? No, but it's a way that you can introduce a character somehow, some way, somewhere down the line, and then maybe that character comes back down the road. So with Feige, you never know.
Also, at this point, I think if they did anything with the Punisher, Bernthal or not, I don't think he's getting his own movie. I think he's going to be because at this point, like, who gets their own movie, right? We got Thor and Guardians. We've got pair-ups. This is kind of where they're going. So I think if we do get the Punisher, it's not a Punisher movie. So depending on who they pair him with and who he's in the movie with, then I don't think you necessarily need the R for it to still be effective.
Yeah, and I think the movies that they've already announced, I think, are the ones that like everything that the new characters they announce are going to be those characters. They're going to be sequels to the characters we currently have, and then we're going to get a new Avengers movie at some point. So that's where the future, that's what, my opinion, 4 and 5, which is basically the next 5 years, that's where I think that we're going to be with all of that. And the next major characters that we're going to end up getting in the movies are going to be Fantastic Four and probably the X-Men at some point. So that's really, I think, where we're headed, more than we're going to start introducing characters from the TV shows having their own movies. That's, I think they're just going to be secondary characters like Hulk and just kind of pop in and out of movies here and there.
Yeah, and to answer Bear's question here too, that he's reading that Blade is not going to be R-rated. I mean, you're probably seeing that based on what Feige's comments were.
Feige said today.
So he didn't mention it. So I know people, different trades and sites are taking little snippets of it and making an entire article out of one line, which is fine. I mean, that's fair if you want to focus on that. But I don't. My guess is right now it's not going to be R-rated, but that's not going to ruin it for me. I know Bear doesn't like foul language. No. Bear hates foul language, so he would be excited to see that Blade might be like PG. Maybe they'll tone it down from the other ones and make it even more family friendly.
Right, and with Mahershala Ali in that movie, you're not going to need the R rating. Like, he's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see that dude in an MCU movie. That's going to be awesome.
Now, I'm busting Bear's chops about the language thing though, because that goes back a whole way of cursing and not cursing and blah blah blah. I mean, whatever. So that was just some of the highlights from Kevin Feige stuff, and then we also got some big news that was from Kevin Feige to a certain actor that usually spoils shit for the MCU, and that's, we got an official title for the artist formerly known as Spider-Man 3 is now Spider-Man No Way Home. I love the title personally. I mean, they're keeping that, they're keeping the home theme going, which you can. I have a feeling this is probably going to be the last home thing that we get. I think you get the home trilogy, and then maybe you move on to something else. We'll see. What do you guys think of the title?
I love it. I love it. I think that it kind of goes, as you said, with the theme, the home theme is Homecoming, Far From Home, and now No Way Home, meaning like you're going to get, Peter Parker is now going to, I mean, I'm only speculating, but it sounds as if his arc is going to change after this film. And I think that we all know that at this point. So, I mean, honestly, there you go. But honestly, with Tom Holland and whatever they have planned between Sony, it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward. You mentioned the fact that he was interviewed and he was talking about his contract, but I mean, I don't see how these two studios that are making a shit ton of money off of this thing are going to be able to just walk away from this. So, I love the title. I think it's going to be, a fantastic movie because I love the first two, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to take much to sell me on a Spider-Man movie. So I'm obviously all in on it. I think the title's cool. I think it lends itself to a lot of speculation though. The rumors. Tom Holland also talked about he's once again shot down the rumors that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire will be appearing in this movie and coming back as their Spider-Man. So Jason, what do you think? Because I know I saw you post on Facebook, so I want you to share it here. What are your thoughts on? Do you think Holland is lying? Do you think he's covering it up and finally has learned to zip his lip and that's it? Like he's going out of the way to shut it down?
No, what I think happened was they lied to him and said, "Oh, this is Tobey Maguire. He's not playing Spider-Man. He's playing Leader Larker. Yeah, just call him Leader Larker. Oh, there's Andrew Garfield. That's Meter Marker. No, not Spider-Man, Tom. We promise. I think that's what's going on.
I mean, it's possible.
unless they're doing the technicality of they don't actually suit up, but they're playing alternate version Peter Parkers. In which case, then. Yes, he can 100% honestly say they're not playing Spider-Man if they don't get in the suit.
Yeah.
I think one of those two things happen. I'm holding on hope that we're going to get those two like back, even as cameos, just to sort of be an alternate version Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Do you think there's a button? I want to throw this out there though too. What if he's telling the truth? What if these Fugazi reports about? What if they were Fugazi? Like, what if they're BS reports and we find out that, or Tobey Maguire, because I know there was a calling for him to play Uncle Ben at some point. Like, people were talking about that. What if he has a flashback cameo scene as just being Uncle Ben, as like an Easter egg, and Andrew Garfield actually isn't in the film whatsoever? Because do you think maybe as fans, we've built this up to be fact so hardcore that we're almost setting ourselves up that if they're not in the film, we're gonna like lose our shit?
Yeah, I think Marvel also trolls us. Marvel trolls us completely. If they're not in the film, Marvel wanted us to think they were in the film. Make no mistake. And you know what? If they're not in the film, we're still going to be on this goddamn show talking about how much we love that movie after it comes out. So it's like I think. For me personally, I don't think I'm building it up for disappointment. Like, I'm building it up because I want to see it. But what the MCU has taught me with almost every movie, probably every movie I've been excited about, because the MCU movies that I'm kind of lukewarm on, or ones I wouldn't have been excited about to begin with, is you can have your expectations, but the MCU will deliver what you need. And they always have when I've been excited about something, And I'm going back to Thanos. Like, I had big expectations and thoughts and theories about the Thanos stuff. And it's not necessarily what happened, but it's what needed to happen. So I think, and maybe I'm going too far in on this in Marvel We Trust, but I think whether we get them as the alternate versions of Spider-Man or someone else or not at all, I think we're going to get the movie we needed to get in this Spider-Man movie.
So we got Alex jumping in here with, I think they did 110% with this movie. This could have been a Tom Holland movie, but they got Toby and Andrew with Daredevil and Doctor Strange. I mean, we do know Strange is in the movie that's a fact. Charlie Cox is supposed to be in the movie, which we're all drawing the conclusions that he's going to be playing Matt Murdock or even Daredevil. Yeah, exactly. Like, I know we mentioned that in a previous episode that there's a chance he might not be. Again, this could be trolling. Like, that he's playing his lawyer, but he's not. We don't know 100% for sure. But I just wonder at times, though, are fans building stuff up? Are they going with rumors so hardcore and so excited that if it doesn't happen, are they going to be pissed off? That's kind of what I started to think, because I was like, maybe the kid is telling the truth, but my gut still tells me that they're in the movie and that he doesn't want to blow this one because it would be pretty bad. This would be one that'd be pretty bad to spoil, and he was probably, not that they're going to fire him or anything, or not renew his contract, because what Holland said in another part was that his contract expires after this film, but he's super excited to want to keep going as Spider-Man as long as they'll have him, which I think we could all agree. We would love to have Tom Holland still rolling with this as long as they can possibly get him, sign him to like another 7-8 picture appearance, and let's just keep this thing going. Bear likes the idea of Tobey Maguire as Uncle Ben better. I mean, it's something I've seen floated around as not like the craziest idea. But obviously he's dead in this, in the MCU, so it would be through a flashback or something like that. So
I would like that if you could do that. If you could make Tobey Maguire Uncle Ben, like that would be like reveal number 1, and then make Andrew Garfield the multiverse Spider-Man that you bring, at some point. Like that would be cool, because yes, they would both be in the movies, and one would get, look, if you go by, similarities, Garfield one, with the Amazing Spider-Man, we know about this, where I'm on Spider-Man 3, you are with those 2 films. So,
yes.
Which is fine. But if the Garfield thing, the 2 Amazing Spider-Man were actually, the Holland and Garfield actually were a little similar, at least, where, they went completely off the rails with the Sam Raimi thing. I told you I have a big problem with the actual webs coming out of them and not having the web shooters. Like I have a problem with that. But if you're able to get 2 of those guys in the movies and do it some way like that, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I also do wonder, though, if they're in the film, let's just say they're in the film, are they going to have a big part, or they're just going to they might be in the movie for 5 minutes. They might be in for 10 minutes. They might not be huge parts of the film. That is possible.
I don't think they're my expectation is not that they're going to be big parts of the film. My expectation is more that they, because we have the sense, we don't know if we know anything, but I think it's fair to say that there's going to be some multiverse play afoot, right, with what's going on in this phase. So like my kind of what I'm looking at, or what I'm thinking of, is it might be like a cameo where he, just a cameo that they play where he kind of runs into them in the multiverse as he's popping around. But I don't think it's going to be like them getting together as the Spider Gang and fighting whatever's going on. I think if they are in it as Spider-Man or Peter Parker, whatever, I think it's just a cameo and that's it.
Yeah, and the other things that we've gotten, though, is that we've gotten Jamie Foxx is playing Electro. He's in the movie. I mean, his comments, though, is he said he's playing a version of Electro that is not the version that he played before, which could be wordplay or not, or we don't really know. Like that's the case. It would be kind of odd that they recasted Electro as a previous Electro. Yeah, that seems kind of strange.
Right.
But Alfred
not like
Molina,
he killed the part the first time.
Yeah, but Alfred Molina is in this movie. Like,
yes,
Zendaya has already said that she is like happy with working with him before and stuff like that. So that would tell you that MJ has some scenes with Dr. Octavius on some level, or they could be doing what like Jason had mentioned a couple episodes ago with J. Jonah Jameson, that they liked what they saw so much in J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, that they decided to just use him and just run with it. Or was that news feed or him appearing, was that some part of a multiverse thing that just came up early?
Well,
I don't know.
Remember, they played footsie with the idea of the multiverse. Parker said it. Tom Holland says it. Are you talking about a multiverse? Right? And that, so if it started, all of this talk of multiverse started right there when he said the word in the middle of the movie. So it's already been it's already out there. So I would not doubt it at all if they crossed over into this. And I have a feeling over the course of the next 2.5 weeks, we're going to get much more clarity into that after we see the end of WandaVision.
Yeah, and I'm kind of shocked that this movie's still coming out on Christmas. They're shooting right now, and they're going to get this done by Christmas.
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they can do it, great. That's fantastic. And like Jason said before, in Marvel we trust. We'll go with it. they're not going to release a half-ass unfinished movie.
Nah, listen, Hollywood has been off for the last 18 months. So
Right. They're raring to go.
Everybody want to work now.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to work, so they'll work around the clock to get this puppy done.
So all right, so then that pretty much wraps up our news stuff for the week, and we're gonna jump over to Batwoman. So we're gonna give our quick thoughts on these. We're probably gonna be speeding up some of the CW stuff because there's a lot of shows. There's 3 going right now, and we got Flash coming next week, and then Legends. I think they actually had a release date for they're coming back in May. Supergirl is looming somewhere. Stargirl is being released over the summer, but Stargirl is not connected with the rest of this stuff, so we'll see. So, as the person who did see Batwoman this week, I'll give some.
I tried.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's crazy. I'm kind of like, I'm gonna be disappointed though because I'm gonna share my quick what the fuck moments for Batwoman because there was a couple. And I kind of wanted Jason to see these what the fuck moments so he can have a good laugh at it. But you probably, I think you'll get the picture though. So in this episode though, there is, it opens up, or there's a scene early on where Ryan and her ex-girlfriend that she cut off with, Angelique, they catch up and they're in it's a morning after they had spent the night together and they're talking. And then all of a sudden Angelique notices that big blast that she has from that shot she took from that kryptonite bullet a couple of, in like the season premiere. The thing is like huge. So let me get this straight. You guys were together last night and now you just noticed it right now. You didn't notice this entire huge hole that's in this person's shoulder. Kind of seemed a little bit strange to me. I thought it was weird. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into why she wouldn't have noticed that or not. It just seems like something you might notice. I don't know. And then
distracted.
She could have been distracted. Is correct. You're right, Tony. You're right.
I didn't even see the shit, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Hey, could have been a wild night. Maybe she didn't notice the entire piercing hole that is lighting up green for kryptonite in her shoulder, but apparently noticed it the next morning while it's daylight in there talking about it looks they had breakfast or something like that. I thought that was a bit strange.
Yeah,
huh?
Poor lighting.
Yeah, bizarre. Kind of reminds me of the Seinfeld episode with the girl he's seeing and she looks totally differently and like different lighting and stuff.
Yes,
it was weird. I think that was the Festivus episode, if I remember correctly, too. Like, I think that was all in one. Yeah.
I believe you're
right,
correct.
yeah.
Another thing I thought that was crazy, so they get an informant, right, that is a part of, like, they're trying to track down the Jack Napier artwork, right? So, yes, no, that's still going, by the way, and it is going. It's full force. So, they capture a dude. They were the Team Batwoman, since that's what the other ones call themselves, Team Flash and whatnot. They have this dude and they're interrogating him, and then the Crows want to interrogate him as well. So she's like, all right. They bring this dude to an alley. Batwoman's there, and Commander Kane is there, who seemed like he's sobered up since last week, which is a good thing. That if you're going to be the security head, you should probably not look like you're drunk. But then they're interrogating this guy for days, and then all of a sudden they ask him a question about Sapphire or whatever, and about the painting, and then he bites on cyanide and kills himself like that. So was he playing around with the cyanide like in his mouth for days and was like, something, kind of had enough of this shit, bonk, and then was just done? Seemed like a weird choice to me. I don't know. I have never taken cyanide when I've been interrogated, so I can't say that I know how that would go, but it just seemed a little bit strange. And then there's another character named Evan Blake who gets introduced and has this, he's known Kate because they're still trying to track down Kate, and that's still going on. But they have a connection, and they need to get the Jack Napier painting from this like art gallery, so they can, because apparently in this painting is like a way to get to the island where Sapphire is. So they mentioned Jack Napier, right? Remember, this character mentions Jack Napier, goes into exposition about he is the Joker. They are confirming in this universe Jack Napier is the Joker. And apparently one of his things was he would kill people and like splatter their guts essentially all over paintings and call it art. Apparently that's what the Joker in this universe does. But they keep calling him Jack Napier the entire episode instead of referring to him as the fucking Joker.
Did
Really?
the writers just recently see Batman 89 and went, hey, you know what we need? We need Jack Napier. And instead of him being like this really cool Joker, he's just an artist like he is like he is in the movie, except
scene,
he's not
yeah.
cool and he does it with blood. All right, run with it. It's like what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
When
man. I started
are
getting some
these
Gotham
people?
vibes.
When are these people going to learn to stick to the source material when it comes to a character like the Joker? The Joker is nobody. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. Leave it that way. That's it. Leave it.
And it
Everyone
only
knows
works.
Jack
Perfection.
Napier.
Leave it alone. And then why would you ever? You have the performance of Jack Nicholson in Batman 89, which until Heath Ledger was the perfect performance of the Joker. Why would you even attempt to try to fuck with that? Like, just leave it alone. Oh God, dude, that's infuriating.
So
how the hell did you get through this episode?
And you want to hear something crazy though? Before we move on to Black Lightning, I'm gonna just say that despite those what the fuck moments, the episode wasn't bad. It was actually another solid episode. All right. No. She
Okay.
Batwoman fights this character called like Wolf Spider or whatever, and they actually have a badass fight. I gotta be honest, it was actually really well choreographed, and it was fast moving, quick pace there. It was good. Alice finds Ocean, and like they're talking and stuff like that, and they have this whole thing, and then they find out that Sophia like had somehow like fucked with their memories, and they don't they don't remember meeting each other and stuff. But then you find out Ocean has the Jack Napier painting, by the way, and that the other one was a fraud. It was a fraudulent painting that was in this thing. So the Jack Napier painting is still in play. I actually want to see that. I want this Jack Napier to show up. I mean, why not at this point? Just give us the Joker.
I hope it's Jack.
I want to know what he's
Nicholson.
been doing. I'm sorry, Jason.
It would never, ever be Jack Nicholson. Never.
But how awesome would it be if it was? Like what is he, like
incredible.
70, 80-year-old Jack Nicholson in Batwoman? Come on. It would make Batwoman better.
It would be pretty crazy.
Bro, I can name about 1 million things that would make Batwoman better, and that's not one of them.
But I will say though that a lot of things further the story. Same things apply though. Like enough with the KK and crap that you're trying to track her down. I'm hoping that they find out that this chick Sophia is like I'm calling it now. She's playing them like puppets, all against each other to try to, because they're all like stumbling over each other to try to track down Kate this whole time. I want it to be a really messed up turn, and you find out that Sophia is the one who's like just screwing with all of them. And she's dead the whole time. And they're like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I made you guys jump through hoops for me to do X, Y, and Z. That would be a cool turn, in my opinion, that if that's how this all ends. But yeah, there's always going to be these WTF moments of the week. But it is what it is. We'll move on, though. We're going to move on off of Batwoman. We're going to move to Black Lightning. So we're in season 4, episode 3 right now. Jason, I want you to start off with your thoughts on Black Lightning this week, because you professed your love for Black Lightning on Facebook, on social media. You're all in, so you can take the lead on this. Let's go, man.
So recap, right before this show, I had never even heard of Black Lightning. I had lost touch with the CW verse so badly that nothing was even popping on my radar. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, I binge watched the first season of Black Lightning. I couldn't stop. Right, I had to go back, and I love this show. I love this episode. I love these characters. These characters are so rich and they're so real. And I think what I'm seeing happening in this last episode, this last season, right? Because again, I just watched the first season. Is they're really mirroring a lot of stuff that happened in that first season. So if you remember, this season starts off with his sort of going Black Lightning on some police officers, right?
Yeah.
But he's not in the Black Lightning. If you remember correctly, the first episode of season 1 is him being pulled over and sort of brutally detained in front of his children by police officers for nothing. They're going at these sort of themes, right? And I think he even says in that first episode what he says in the first episode of the season 4, like, I'm getting tired of this, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I'm thinking about what's going on in this season. Then I'll get into like my highlights of this episode. Is the first season was Jefferson Pierce needing to realize that he had to tap into Black Lightning to make the world better. But in the beginning, he was Jefferson Pierce trying to make the world better, right?
Yeah.
He was, I think he says in this, because I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. So a lot of the educator stuff that I see on this show resonates with me. And when he says to his wife in like the first 1 or 2 episodes, I've saved more lives through my school than I ever could as Black Lightning. And so that first season of Black Lightning is him having to realize that there's a place in his life for Black Lightning. And of course, he had to do that because his kids were also getting powers, and that was all. But I think season 4 is Jefferson Pierce realizing there's also a place in his life for Jefferson Pierce. And that is delineated in this episode so perfectly. Do you want to go? I don't want to jump ahead. Do you want to
take the lead. Take the lead. Go for it.
Because I don't think we've seen him put that Black Lightning suit on once, right?
Nope.
This season. And this episode, he has this moment where he goes to see Lala, who I had no idea who that was until I watched that first season. And boy, am I glad I know now, because what a powerful moment when he comes into that fighting ring and Lala's like, look, because we have history, you need to walk away, and that's it. And the fact that you see these hardcore murdering gangsters have such respect for this man. They don't know he's Black Lightning. They respect him because of the things he's done for even them when they were younger. And then watch him after that interaction of respect through like the second most evil character in this show, because I don't think you can be more evil than Tobias Whale.
No.
Then he like sees his old teacher who we saw last episode, who lost everything, his kids, his son was shot, he lost his house, he's living in his car, he's doing these cage fighting, and he's winning. And so Lala wants to shut him down, and he puts a ringer in there, and Jefferson Pierce goes, I'm gonna fight this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he does it, and he doesn't use his Black Lightning powers, or if he, I don't remember if he does, but if he does, it's
his eyes just flash quickly, and that's it. He gets pissed.
Yeah, that was it. But he kind of puts it down, and there's a beautiful moment after he wins that fight. Spoilers, of course, he wins the fight, where he says to himself or to his therapist, I don't remember who he says this to, but he goes, tonight I made a difference as Jefferson Pierce.
He tells Gamby. He tells
Gamby. That's it. Yeah. And I think this is a beautiful bookend to that first season.
Yeah.
And I'm all for everything I saw in this episode.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff there. The cage fighting there, the whole connection with Lala, which I'm really glad that you do that. And that's actually really good points about the connections between this being the final season. They're calling back to season 1 a lot. Like they are, like it's coming roundabout now, which is pretty cool. But that whole thing was, so Anissa, by the way, she gets married to her girlfriend Grace, who wakes up. She was the shapeshifter that in the previous episode was like I think she was like the leopard or whatever, like animal. She can shift into different things. So that was cool. You got to see that. I have a bad feeling that's not going to end well though. Because Tobias is supposed to be, systematically taking down, Jefferson and the whole family, because he has beef with all of them. And then Jennifer's dealing with the TV reporter who took the footage of her from the last episode that was breaking up the shootout and was like, oh no, Lightning was doing this. Like, what do they call her? Lethal Lightning or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
They gave her that name, that she was the one doing this, and then she has this whole thing where she takes control of the narrative. She does her own social media, and then they reintroduce TC, who works for Gamby. You'll see who he is when you get to season 3.
Okay.
TC kind of like talks to computers and stuff like that, so that's kind of like his meta power. So There is that, but TC and Gambi team up. They track down these meta guns and they put the hole through the old Black Lightning suit. And then Gambi's like, oh shit, the family's all in trouble now because they can pierce through no pun intended, they can pierce through any of these suits. Now with all these weapons, who are the cops are supposed to be getting these, and who knows if it's going to get out to like the street and everything like that. So they could be, getting that from all angles. But the big thing here is what Tobias did. Like the second Lynn gets that card and flowers, I knew it was Tobias though.
Me too.
Setting her up. Yeah, you knew it right away. And then Tobias meets her at the restaurant. They're having their whole talk about, I need you to help me out here and this and that. And he's still trying to come off as a good guy. But then the invitation also went out to Jefferson.
Yep.
And Jefferson shows up. You knew he had that shit-eating grin on his face like Tobias.
Yep.
Where he was there and he saw, Jefferson walk in. And Jefferson was pissed. Like he's, and obviously there's going to be a misunderstanding of stuff, but that'll be cleared up fairly quickly because it's going to look like, that Lynn is like, going behind Jefferson's back with Tobias and stuff. But I'm telling you, Tobias, very Kingpin-esque, where he's starting to chop down every single piece and systematically trying to take down, the whole Pierce family because of his whole history with them.
And the dude they get to play Tobias is amazing.
He's a rapper. He's not even like a full blown. He's not even like a full blown actor. Is
he really? He is I didn't really appreciate him till I watched that first season, and like you see him like break his stepfather or his father's like abusive father's back, and like just the way he approaches things, and you see a lot of like diplomat Tobias in these last 3 episodes, but I haven't seen like the vicious Tobias till I went back, and I can't. This guy isn't even an actor; he's a rapper. This guy's amazing.
I don't know if he's done anything else besides this, but I thought this was like what he's done regarding his acting career.
He's so good. I mean, he sends chills down my spine. Even like now that I know what the character's capable of, watching that scene where he's like being so charming and so like so nice, and she's buying it. Like the Black Lightning's wife is buying it, and it sent chills down my spine. He was so good because he's a scary character.
No, he is. He crushes it on that show, man. But we'll see where that goes with it. But then the other CW show that was on, and it was last night, and it was so big that we moved show nights to accommodate for it, was Superman and Lois that premiered last night on the CW. Man, I mean, listen, just to start off, I loved it. I ate it all up. Going into this, like when they announced the Superman and Lois show, I had some reservations because, again, I make no secret, I like the actor who portrays Clark Kent Superman in the CW verse, but their handling of him prior has been weak. Like they've made him a jobber to Supergirl, like he gets his mind wiped and he loses to her, and it's kind of like a second or third character at times, and it's kind of like they've buried him, but now he's front and center. And he's got his own show, and he was like Superman in this premiere episode, and it was pretty awesome, man. Like we got to see like really what he can do as this. Now, so just lead up to context of this episode, by the way. So last time we saw them, the Lois, it was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where we find out Lois is pregnant, but she's having a kid, and they take Superman goes off world. And they go to Argo, which is a planet where they found that there was Kryptonians taking refuge there. And it was like a safe place, so they can have that. So Clark takes Lois there so she can have her, pregnancy and stuff like that. But then during the ending of Crisis on Infinite Earths, when Superman joins the fight and everything like that, we find out that suddenly there's twins. And he was even like confused. He goes, wait a second, there's twins? Like, what are the boys? Like, what are you talking about? Because when Oliver did his whole thing and they rewrote history, and he made Earth Prime instead of like 1,000 different Earths and recreated everything. He put everything together, but certain things changed, and that was believed to be one of them. Is that suddenly Lois went from having a child to twins, and we see the twins on this episode. I'm currently not 100% clear on where in the CW-verse timeline this show takes place, because the twins are teenagers, and they were not. The last time we saw them, they were babies, so I'm kind of curious to know where that picks up Are they gonna say at one point, like, because they don't really acknowledge the Arrowverse, CW verse, whatever you want to call it, at all in this episode? Tony, what were your thoughts on the premiere of Superman and Lois?
I actually really enjoyed this show. I admittedly did not watch the original show, which we all know that I am a history of doing, which I'm trying to get out of that whole thing. So you're baby steps. I'm getting there. So, but I really Taylor Hockner was fantastic. I really like the way he portrays Clark. I like the way he portrayed Superman. Dylan Walsh as Lois's father is great. I'm a fan of his, going all the way back to the Nip Tuck days of FX, which I was actually a very big fan of that show when it was out. The boys. This is Superman as a teenage dad. Like it's these are real world problems that he's got with his sons. I think that everything obviously that went on in Smallville, it kind of brought them back there. I will say that I got a little concerned when they started talking about nuclear facilities. I was really hoping that Nuclear Man was not going to show up at some point in this show and ruin it for me. So I was really happy that was not the case. So, but all in all,
hold on, Tony, are you telling me that you're not excited to potentially see this guy growing his nails and scratching Clark and giving him a cold, and then he has to just that's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go on. Fair enough. Fair enough. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm very excited by that not happening. But no, I really enjoyed it. I think that this is going to be a good show. If as long as they stay away from these Batwoman type, like what did I just see type of things.
Yeah.
I really like the casting. I like the storyline. I think this is going to be a really, really solid show. I'm excited about it. And I'm a Superman guy, so to see what I saw today, I was very, very happy with it, and I'm looking forward to having more Superman content.
As well as Tim. Tim is the Kryptonian sympathizer, as Bear likes to call him. I'm sure he was super excited regarding Superman's return to TV.
I'm sure he was super excited when he lifted that car up. I'm sure Tim was going, now throw it at Batman.
Exactly. He was hoping it was a Volkswagen, like he always talks about.
Exactly.
Jason, what did you think of Superman and Lois?
So here's the funny part is I'm not usually a Superman guy. Just because I just find he's so powerful and he can do so much that I never really buy that he's in danger, right? So that's just and that's that's just me. I like the more grounded human aspects of superheroes. But having said that, I thought this was great. I loved the guy who played him, and I this is the first time I've seen him because I didn't get to any I think I watched the first season of Supergirl and I enjoyed it, but it just so happened I fell off the CW verse right after it.
Yeah.
So I never really got to see him do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was great. I like the woman they got to play Lois. I like that he's a dad. I like that he's a dad who connects with one of his sons really well and doesn't really know how to connect with the other. And the one he doesn't know how to connect with is the one that's exactly like him. Like, not just power-wise, but like whenever you know about Clark Kent, Clark took a lot of abuse from kids because he was never allowed to raise his fist in anger. They even mentioned the story in this. Oh, you mean the time they got tied to a tractor, Dad? Like, the younger son he can't connect with is him, and the son he can connect with is what, like, his ideal version, the Superman version he puts out there. So like what they're doing here with the humanity and weaving in, like, oh well, you know what the real Achilles heel of a super being is, trying to be a good dad. And as someone who's just become a dad, and wants to be a good dad, that really spoke to me. So I really enjoyed everything I saw in this. And there was a lot more meat here than I thought would be. Like bringing in this whole anti-big business sort of development company. There's obviously predatory loans. They had sort of discussed that. Like I think it's a fresh take on the character and the world that they're giving, and it's a more grounded, realistic take. And I'm in for the ride. Like even if we wind up not doing this show, because I think at some point when we have 20 CW shows, we're gonna have to pare it down. This is one I think I'm gonna stick with for a while, because I even like the kids. I usually get annoyed. I mean, I teach high school, so of course I don't want to see teenagers on the screen. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but I work with teenagers. It reminds me of work. But I really dug these two actors. I really dug the teenage versions, and I really bought them as teenagers. And I think that's huge too, because if you don't work with teenagers, yeah, you can watch a movie where 30-year-olds are playing teenagers and go, that's fine. When you work with teenagers, it's really easy to go, oh no, that's a 30-year-old. They don't actually act or talk like that. These kids were authentically teenage. So there's just what I'm saying, I'm kind of gushing for a Superman show, which I didn't think would ever happen, but I'm really, really on board for what they're going for here.
I agree with you, and not to cut you off, Jason, but Dad rather, but there was one thing that in this show that really has never been tackled in a Superman movie or show before, and that was what Lois's father told him when she said, he can't go right now. Yeah. His family needs him. Yeah. He needs to figure out this shit here. And he said, I warned you when you got married. You didn't just marry Clark Kent, you married Superman, and Superman does not get to live a normal life because he can't. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that shit is deep right there, because that has never been tackled before. And his relationship with Lois over the years, and you've seen different ways, different times in different shows and movies, how it's been. But this is different because there's children involved. Mm-hmm. It's the loss of his mother. It's bringing back all those memories about his father. And I think the other thing is that you hit the nail on the head was with the kids, is that Jonathan, who obviously is named after his father, Jonathan is the kid that he hated in high school. Mm-hmm. And you remember it even from Man of Steel, when the kids from the football team were trying to get him to fight when he was waiting for his dad, I think at the tractor, whatever it was. But Jonathan was the kid that he couldn't stand when he was growing up. And he was, like you said, he was Jordan. And to see that now, that the son that he doesn't connect with now is the powers that he has are what's going to end up bringing those two together. And I think the show is off to an excellent start.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing. I mean, I think they tried to lay it down as a twist, because they laid it down like they were hyping up Jonathan, the football star, and everything like that, and like everyone is super popular, everyone loves him, and then they flipped it around where you find out when they're in the barn that it's Jordan that has it, that has the abilities, and he has the heat vision that we see, and then obviously some super strength and stuff like that. Some of the cool things that I found in the episode, by the way, and was the appearance of the Fleischer Superman suit. By the way, when Clark in the beginning is telling the story about how he came up and stuff like that, so you have that scene where they flash back and you see the original Action Comics #1, essentially Superman suit.
I love how he says, "My mom made it for me."
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome.
Which is awesome.
And the delivery was perfect. Thanks, my mom made it for me. It flies off. I was like,
yeah, you get super young Clark Kent who's like doing that. Yeah. And by the way, the whole thing with him catching the car in the suit, total callback to Action Comics #1, where he's holding the car.
Absolutely.
Not a mistake. Obviously, the modern day version of it.
Green car. Exactly. It was a green car, if I'm not mistaken.
It was awesome. I caught that immediately, and I love the fact that suit made an appearance. That was there before he gets the awesome suit that he has now, which is way better than the one he had on Supergirl and like in previous appearances. And the nod you had mentioned, Tony, the nod to him making Martha making the suit for him, which, by the way, is apparently a callback to 1986's Man of Steel #1, and also Lois and Clark. Apparently, Martha made the suit for him in both of those iterations of the character. And I love the fact that by the way, when Clark goes to talk to Jordan and he's playing the video games, and he's playing Injustice 2, and he's using Raiden, and he's kicking Superman's ass, by the way.
It's so good. It's so symbolic.
It was priceless that he's like talking to him. You can tell he's aggravated with Clark. He's whooping Superman's ass. And he's like, nah, Superman's boring. like this and that. And he's like kind of like letting him have it, like really going in.
Well, he said you're a really good Superman. And he goes, "Nah,
Yeah.
Superman's boring. I'm Raiden."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought that was great. By the way, though, so interesting thing. So if you know the story of Injustice, right? When Superman goes nuts and accidentally kills Lois, is that the story of that video game that they're playing? I hope not.
I hope
That
not.
would really mess that kid up.
Yeah.
no kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's why he won't play as Superman. You killed my mom.
Exactly. Deep thoughts right there for that little segment right there. But overall for the overall thing, I thought it was great that they threw in the video game and stuff, and he's kicking his ass. And the names of the kids, by the way. So we know Jonathan clearly is named after Jonathan Kent, Pa Kent. But then Jor-El, his other dad.
Yeah.
A twist on an Earth version, you want to say, of that name. But that was really a cool thing, too. And then there's the end of the episode, by the way. So throughout the episode, this character is going destroying nuclear plants and picking them on purpose because there's like lead, and he knows a lot about Clark or Superman that he can't see through it. But then at the end, he's asking this like ship that he's on questions. And I'm sorry, Tony, this is where it's coming.
That's all right.
He says, what will be next, Commander Luthor? And I was like, what just happened now? But I mean, think about it though. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Have we had a Lex Luthor? Have we had this Lex Luthor in the CW verse at all in any of the past?
You have queued me up perfectly. I'm glad I gave the give and go there. I passed it to Jason and gave it right back for the dunk. There it is. So the Lex Luthor that has been in the CW verse to this point is John Cryer as Lex Luthor on Supergirl and on Crisis. And I will say it now, because I don't think I've said it on this show yet. John Cryer is the best live-action Lex Luthor.
Wow.
Ever.
That's a bold statement.
Absolutely.
That is a bold statement because Kevin Spacey was awesome.
Kevin Spacey was awesome.
It was the only part of that movie is watchable is when he was in. I mean, obviously, Kevin Spacey will never work in Hollywood again, probably.
Yes, he's done.
Or if he does, it'll be 20 years from now. But regardless of anything, I will tell you that performance in Superman Returns was like, oh my God, this guy is awesome. If you could put that Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman, oh, forget it. That would have blown the minds of fans everywhere.
I agree.
Listen, I tell you all right now, John Cryer is the best live-action Lex Luthor I have ever seen. Better than Gene Hackman, which I think is goofy, and I know for his time he gets a lot of credit. Obviously, better than Jesse Eisenberg.
Don't even say the name.
And yes, up until now,
don't say the name.
Up until John Cryer, I thought Kevin Spacey was the best live-action Lex Luthor to date. John Cryer is incredible as Lex Luthor. Okay. Absolutely incredible. And I love the fact that it's another one of those castings that they did because he plays Lex's nephew in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, which we all try to forget. And they spin it around and like, no, he's going to be Lex. He's bald. They gave him some facial hair, whatever, make him a little bit different. But, man, he is Lex Luthor in Supergirl, and he plays a huge part in Crisis on Infinite Earths just last year. That's the big thing I want to know. Where is this Lex Luthor? Because in Supergirl, if you follow Supergirl, and with Crisis, he rewrites part of history and makes himself the head of the DEO and the person who's like a hero that everyone bows down to and stuff like that. He put in that little part to Earth Prime, so he's considered good in that version. I want to know, where is this Clark's reaction to seeing that, because this Clark is supposed to be well aware of the events that happened prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I don't know what this is. Is it a future Lex Luthor? Is it another multiverses Lex Luthor that got thrown into the mix? I have no idea. But it was a crazy thing that they dropped at the last second.
Well, you said the timeline has changed, but you said the timeline has changed too, because the kids are now what? They said the kids are 15 years old or 14 years old?
Yeah, I don't know if they like accelerated growth or something. I'm going to guess that they didn't, because the kids would have known that.
Right.
That was my guess going into this. But
so then that Lex would be 14 years older. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to know where that ties in. because there was not really no tie-ins at all to the rest of the CW verse in this episode. But we'll see what happens.
I wonder if they keep it. Separate. I mean, that's I mean, it's possible, I guess. I mean, they're doing that in the movies now. They're doing, independent movies outside of the DCEU. So, maybe they decided to keep this outside of it. They wanted to keep Taylor Hockner. And
the thing that leads me to believe that's not the case, though, is two things. One, that special that they had after the episode, they hyped up the Arrowverse and they talked about it a lot, how connected it was, and they were really emphasizing that. So my guess is that it's not. Maybe it takes place in the future or something like that. From the rest of it, I'm not sure. That's going to be my guess. But then the other thing is that Diggle, who was on Arrow, he at the end of Arrow, he says he's moving to Metropolis, and a lot of people are speculating though that he was going to end up being Green Lantern and being Superman and Lois's secondary hero, because all these shows have a secondary hero in them. So, like Supergirl has Martian Manhunter. Arrow has everyone eventually, but Flash spun off of that. Yeah, Arrow got crazy with that.
Well, let me ask you a question, just because, I'm not, maybe I missed it. I don't think that this is the case, but Warner Brothers is not planning on intertwining the shows in the movies, correct?
No, the only thing that they said at the DC Fandom last year was that they're acknowledging that everything is a part of a multiverse. So the potential for them to cross over is on the table. That's because I'm just table.
Well, and the only reason why I say this is that because there has been the rumor and innuendo that Green Lantern is going to show up in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So is it a possibility that he shows up in that movie and then is introduced into Superman and Lois? That's the only reason why I'm saying, because if they're planning on doing it the way that Marvel is doing it, that the shows are intertwined with the movies, then I could see how that could be the case. But if they're keeping it completely separate, then it's just speculation.
Yeah, my guess though is that it's going to be a little bit more simple, and I think Diggle literally just moves to Metropolis and and he picks up whatever. But also at the end of the last time we saw Diggle, though, he was opening a box that was light green was coming out of it. So he did find something that was there. And the thing is, though, they also introduced in Arrow, they said that his stepfather, who was a military officer, his last name was Stewart. John Diggle, Stewart. You're spelling it out there.
Just hang a fucking sign around his neck, for Christ's sake.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's more straightforward than. That actually is a pretty good connection.
Yeah, the dots. I'd say. But let me tell you, they better step up there. Better keep this budget in order if they're going to have Jon Stewart in this show, because if he looks like anything like Ryan Reynolds, I think everyone's going to be off his show immediately.
I'm going to say if he does appear, he will have a real suit and not a CGI suit.
I would hope.
As other people did.
I would hope so. So.
All right, so it's WandaVision time. Let's get it going.
This could take a while.
This could take a while. Let's just get to it. So this week's episode, as we continue on, was episode 7. So we got 2 more left after this. Was clearly a nod to shows like Modern Family and The Office, where they have the fake documentary going on, and people are not really breaking the fourth wall, but talking to someone who's interviewing them and stuff like that. So that's clear where that went. But in the opening credits, there was a bunch of they show Wanda's name a bunch and everything like that, the fake opening credits. The license plate number that appears on one of them is Stan Lee's birthday.
Nice. Excelsior.
Bang! Exactly. Nice. His cameos don't go away that easily, my friends.
Mm-hmm. He will live as long as the MCU does.
Yeah.
Yes, he will.
It's all about it. So earlier in the episode, though, we find out that Wanda's losing her grip on the hex. The milk is changing. It's turning from what was it, almond milk to whole milk to whatever. The kids are playing
1950s milk.
Yeah, all over. It's a glass bottle. It's a container. And then the kids are playing video games and they're turning into Uno cards and Atari. Something crazy is going on here. But then she also admits, though, that when Tommy and Billy ask her for answers, she has a very parent moment and says, "You think I would have all the answers, but I don't." But I think that it was a parenting moment, but it was also like a bigger thing that she's like literally saying, I actually don't know what's going on here of something that, I've been in control of. And
she actually says that in the interview when she's doing that Modern Family kind of talking to the camera.
Yeah.
She says, I don't know what that's about. Like, and she's just flat out says it. Like, I don't know what that's about. And then it starts happening more and more, as you said, through the episode. So
yeah. But a big takeaway, though, to get off the speculation that we've had, because I think one thing with this episode, and we're going to share our thoughts on it, there were a lot of fan theories that have been squashed, in my opinion, in this episode, and there were other fan theories that were held up. And we'll get to the big one, the huge one that we've called since the very first episode, and you can keep your receipts and go check that episode, but we did say it. She tells them that, they're talking about Uncle Pietro, and they're like, that man is not your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, flat out. That's not him. That is not, and I take it literally because it's like, that is not the MCU Pietro. That is not the friggin' Foxverse Pietro. I don't know who this damn guy is. And he's not in the house at all, so obviously he's not seen in the episode. Exactly. So that is the thing. Tony, share it. Go ahead. Well,
first of all, I love the whole Modern Family feel to this show. I absolutely loved it. I like the fact. I've watched it like in syndication, and I was never like a weekly kind of a thing, but I've seen a bunch of episodes. I'm not a like a comedy kind of, I'm still watching like King of Queens, for Christ's sake. So I mean that's more my speed. So but this episode is my jaw was literally in my lap pretty much from the minute it started, right? I mean, so we thought right away we're getting Krasinski, we're gonna get Reed Richards. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get to the top of that hill and he's gonna be there. And it was just like, no, that's not it. And it's just like it's just like we strung you along, and then it's like, it's not it. Gotcha.
So we're all in agreement, though, right? That the aerospace engineer was nothing the whole time. That this was all created on.
But it was that little like, come here, little boy, let's go.
Because again, the MCU trolled us. They gave us crumbs. They went, oh, there's gonna be an important cameo. Crumbs. And then we all heard like aerospace engineer, because they kept mentioning that goddamn aerospace engineer. And so that's why we thought like, well, that's got to be something. They keep mentioning it. Yeah. And what it was here's some crumbs. Troll. I love them for it.
Exactly. And that cameo has yet to happen. So it's coming. It is definitely coming.
Let's save that for the end part of it. Because
no. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it in there. But okay. So I like the whole the episode is so well put together. Vision is missing. He's just he's not around. He's still trying to figure everything out. I find it very odd that it seems that for the first couple of episodes, obviously, and we find out later why, but through the first couple of episodes, Vision is like completely under the spell of everything is hunky-dory and we're married and we're living through these sitcoms and so on and so forth. And now it seems as if the tides have turned, that Wanda is under the spell, because after the whole thing happens, she expands the hex out, right? Mm-hmm. She knows, They tell him, they tell her that Dad's in trouble, that he's hurt, he's this and everything else, and she doesn't even go. She knows exactly where he is. Yep. She doesn't even go look for him.
Doesn't care.
She just takes the kids home. She's in bed. She's still got the fucking costume on, right? Like nothing. She
was hung from a party,
right? Like I'm gonna take a mental health day, or I forget what was the.
She was gonna punish herself essentially and give her data herself to show herself that what she's been doing is wrong.
Right? Yeah, and she pulled the covers over her head. I'm saying, you just found out. You know what's going on. You know what you did.
Yep.
right? You know shit is all fucked up, and yet meanwhile you're in bed. The boys have to come find you. You come downstairs. Agnes magically shows up again.
And
And
she
I say
opens
that
the door
and
for her, by the way. Like,
I
she's coming.
right, like there she is, and but and I say magically for a reason, but she just magically shows up. She whisks the boys away, and she's just sitting there eating cereal as shit in the house is like changing. At a moment's notice, you can see the confusion on her face. She has no idea why it's happening. She outwardly says it. And then you find Vision in the middle of the circus, which that whole thing, that whole theme of the circus of sort is just absolutely hilarious. And he finds Darcy. He's able to snap her out of her, her actress or her role on the show and everything, and she just spells it out. I think that car ride with the two of them together is absolutely hilarious. How she's giving him the Reader's Digest version of everything that's happening. It was just so well done. So
hold on, Tony. I do want to comment on one thing though. When they're talking before they get into the van, and Vision is trying to snap her out of it, and he talks about like, we were there, we locked eyes.
Yeah,
you knew what I was talking about. And Darcy's like picking up like that. They were he's talking about like last night we locked eyes, and we were there. And she's like, yeah, well, I'll go out with you, but I'm just gonna order like the lobster or something like that. That whole thing was hilarious.
That was so funny. And it was such a perfect sitcom moment, and that's what I appreciate now that we've gotten away, because we're really getting away from the sitcoms. We might not even get another sitcom after this, right? Because we got meat and business to attend to. But I love that even as we get farther away from the sitcoms, we still get these genuinely funny sitcom moments, and that was one of them.
Yep.
Genius.
Yep.
Genius.
Well, that what the really the comedy in this episode, there's two really comedic moments for me, is that conversation between Vision and Darcy, and then the other thing is that when they're driving home, they're driving to the house, and all of that shit, that road crew comes in, and he says, sitting there having that that Modern Family type of thing, like, I think she's trying to keep me from coming home. Which is he's like, what am I doing here talking to
that was
you?
great.
No, but he goes,
it was
looks at the camera,
so
he says, I'm not amused.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he does it perfectly, very robotic, like, I'm not amused. It's perfectly done, perfect delivery. It's those two moments in a very serious episode, if you ask me, because there's a lot of serious shit that happens in this episode. Those are the two things. So you see and I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm like rolling here because I got all of this for a week now. It's just waiting for this. So we get to the point where Monica is going to go through the hex, and that scene is intense, right? It really is, because we've seen people get their powers from the Infinity Stones in other settings. That Wanda got her from the Mind Stone. That Carol Danvers got her powers from the Tesseract. Like, that these people got their powers from that. This is different, because this is her willingly going through, and it seems essentially as if she's being pulled apart and then kind of put back together as she goes through the hex. You see her come out and with the eyes, and then you see how she's seeing things, and it's like, God damn, that was really, really well done. And again, you go back to some of these shows that we've watched over the years with the special effects, and they're like, not too bad or whatever. That was really, really well done. Really well done.
That was fantastic. That she had a superhero landing also.
That was cool.
She did a superhero landing as Deadpool.
That was cool.
And that shit was done purposely, because now it's like, there you go. You talked about the fact that she was getting abilities before. Now she's got them. And no better way to show that is to have the superhero landing coming out of the hex like that. She now has her powers, and she is going to be. I'm assuming that she's going to take the name Photon, because they've been drilling that into our heads for the last couple episodes. as well. And
Jason,
then
I'm sorry. Hold on, Jason. What do you got?
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm kind of curious. Now, is Monica Rambeau in the comics, is she a mutant or did she get her powers through other means?
So she gets her powers similar to like Captain Marvel abilities.
Okay.
So
I'm no, yeah, that's that. So she gets it from some sort of third party, not herself. Because I'm curious if they're going to use the hex, not necessarily now, but the idea of the hex, because you know that they're going to sort of figure it out and they're going to get a piece of the hex, and this isn't going to go away. So I wonder if they're going to use this to introduce mutants into the MCU, because they keep saying very specifically when you go through the hex, it rewrites your DNA, it rewrites who you are as a person. And then we see Rambeau go through there with no powers, as Tony said, gets ripped apart and reformed into a new person almost, and now has powers. So I wonder if this is their way of introducing mutants into the MCU of, okay, this changes who you are, this causes mutations, and then we're going to go from there.
It's definitely possible.
An interesting thing, I'll comment on in a second, but I think an interesting thing too is that the sword shirt that Monica's wearing, is very extremely reminiscent, obviously an Easter egg, to her costume in the comics when she's either Photon or she's Spectrum, whichever it is. But she has the shirt that's there, and she's wearing it on purpose when she gets that moment, and she goes through the hex, and she gets her powers and abilities, and we see all that thing, nailing the superhero landing and all of that for the third time. That's her third time in and out through the hex. I thought that was really cool that's there. Regarding the hex and the... I still think I'm sticking to it. I still think Wanda is going to some way. Again, there's not going to be a no more mutants moment at the end of this. It's going to be something like she's either going to give birth to the mutants and give everyone the X gene or something like that by turning, or giving certain people the X gene by, how whatever her chaos magic is. Mm-hmm. Or, I don't know if the hex is going to be involved per se, but that's a good thing though. It could give birth to the X gene.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, what if we get that moment, that no more mutants moment, which is not going to be that, right? And what she does in her grief is push the hex out, right? And then the hex goes and it affects some people and it doesn't, and that's how the X gene is born. So I think the two could be tied because they very specifically have shown us she can move that hex. We know that now. Mm-hmm. And it rewrites your DNA. So again, this is either sewing in good stuff or it's here's some crumbs, troll. Either way, I think it's interesting to talk about.
Yes, and I totally agree. I mean, you what you said sounds great. I mean, that could literally be it. Also, I think another thing to touch on is the commercial for this week. By the way, so the commercial, the Nexus commercial, the commercial is a nod to a Nexus being. It's talking about Monica's depression, obviously, and that, but then they mention it's Nexus. In the comics, a Nexus being is a character that remains the same across all multiverse, no matter what, any type of reality, which Wanda is a Nexus being in Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the nod that we got there for that. And again, we've talked about multiverses, where this is leading, where it's not. But I think that was pretty much like right spot on. But that's exactly what that nod was with this week's commercial for the Nexus antidepressant or whatever that exact medicine was. Mm-hmm. So I think the other thing too is that then Wanda, she stops by. Eventually, she decides to go to Agnes's house.
Wait! It's just one more thing I want to mention because it's just kind of important, and I think
go for it.
So the scene where the boys are over her house, mm-hmm. right, and she's talking to talking to Wiccan, and he says, it's very quiet here. You're very quiet on the inside. And I think at that moment that she had them there, that she realized that these kids were becoming powerful and that she needed to shut this shit down now, because that was probably the moment where she realized, like, this kid can't go back, because if he's starting to read me, we're in trouble. So I think that's where the moment turned. And then the scene that I think you're getting to, right? That's her opening to kind of just kick the door open on that. So, I thought that scene was excellent and very, very important to what's going on here.
Well, no, actually, you want to know something? I'm glad you brought that up. because in that moment, though, the twins are playing with a rabbit. Rabbit is Senor Scratchy. Okay, so this is gonna tie into Alex's comment down here, because just to break down some stuff with this is that Senor Scratchy and Mr. Scratchy apparently is an AKA for the devil. Apparently that's
Mr. Scratch. Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Scratch is
Mr.
an
Scratch.
alias of the devil.
Yes. So we know who the devil is in Marvel Comics. He goes by the name of Mephisto. So either that rabbit was Mephisto taking the form, of that, or another thing though is that in the comics, Agatha's son, his name is Nicholas Scratch, who is also a shapeshifter who can take different forms. So or that is the son. There's a significance to that rabbit. And so say that right now, whichever way it goes, whether that's Mephisto taking a different form or it's her son and that's being included in this, there's no way that was just a throwaway line, because as we learned, most things are not throwaway lines in this show whatsoever. It's all crafted to that.
Especially the show. There is nothing. Everything means something in the show. Everything.
And we don't see Ralph again, because Alex also believes, and we've said it on here.
Yep.
The belief is that Ralph is Mephisto, whatever you want, however you like to pronounce it. Because I know even before the movies, Thanos was a thing for comics for years, because no one's ever said the name out loud.
Yeah.
Just read it, but then obviously Thanos became the thing for the movies. So, Alex, I like where your head's at. Ralph being Mephisto is a thing there. It could be the rabbit of Mr. Scratchy, or maybe that's him shape-shifting into that. There's two possibilities I think are strong. Tony.
I have one better on that.
Do you?
Yep.
All right.
I do.
All right.
I believe that Ralph, absolutely, the character of Ralph, I believe 100% is Mephisto. And I believe that Pietro is Ralph.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is what it is.
I'm going to go so far
as another Ralph.
I'm going to go so far as to say is I hope he is, because I would like to see. I want to see this actor stick around and do more in the MCU. I want this because whoever this is the villain of Doctor Strange, right? In the Multiverse of Madness. This is the lead up. So if Evan Peters gets to be Mephisto, whatever, then I'm happy. Then I can finally admit to myself that he's not a multiverse Pietro, which I hold on to only because I want Evan Peters in the MCU. So bring him in as Mephisto, and I'll let that go.
So I'm going to say something, though, that I am going to slightly disagree with the take. My guess. This is just my guess. I do love Evan Peters as well. And I know I saw this out there, and this is not the one yet. I'm saving that one because there's two wild theories that I ran into that I was almost going to put my head through a TV. But that's not this. So the idea of we know the cameo has not happened yet. Right. It's not Evan Peters. He's not the Luke level cameo that we've been, the breadcrumbs have been thrown out there for. And the only thing we know is Paul Bettany has also said that it hasn't happened. Paul Bettany has also said that it's an actor that he was wanting to work with. So, what if Evan Peters just plays a form of Mephisto, who we believe is Ralph?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So unfortunately, Jason, that means that he probably won't be around long. I know. I do apologize for that. If I'm right, I could be totally batshit wrong.
No, you might be right.
And come on here in a week or two and be
I think you're right on the ball,
this is totally
bro.
insanity. How about this? And this is somebody who's expressed interest in joining the MCU in the past. Hooah! What if Al Pacino
plays Mephisto?
A callback to
the Devil's
Advocate, where he was the best devil ever. Like, to the point where I watched that movie, and I've admitted it. I'm like, kind of makes a case. I'm a little scared now. I'm a little worried because he's kind of making some sense. No, don't listen to him. That would be Luke level mind-blowing insanity. If he turns out to be like your actual form or a form, the main form of Mephisto and Ralph.
Well, I was gonna wait until after we went through the whole Agnes thing, right? So I was gonna, but when you during that whole reveal, which we'll get into in a second, but you see that when he's at the door, that moment where him and her have that first moment when he comes to the door, you could see that he's not who he is.
Yes.
Right, because he's got that purplish like shit coming off the back of him, and then you're thinking like, oh, he was just a figment of her imagination. She was just put there by Agnes during this whole thing, until he shows up in the post-credit scene, and then you're like, well, no, he wasn't just a figment that just showed up and now disappeared because she didn't need him anymore. He's somebody. And that's why I think that, yes, he is Ralph. Do I think that's the form that Mephisto is going to take? No, but I definitely think that that's who he is.
And all right, so Jason, would you trade in Evan Peters for Al Pacino being Mephisto? Or is this just batshit crazy?
It's bad. Look here, and here's the thing: you're not going to like my answer because it's no. And here's why. I love Al Pacino. I do. I love Scent of a Woman. I love him in when he's the devil in I can't think of the name.
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. I know it slipped my mind. I love Al Pacino, right? I think he's a fantastic actor, but I think to go Al Pacino level balls to the fan crazy on Mephisto, I just tonally I don't think it works in what they're building. And maybe I'm right. Hell, if they do it, I'm sure it'll be fine. So, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I kind of want to see someone who's not as like Al Pacino is Al Pacino, right? Al Pacino shows up at this point and he's Al Pacino and he does the Al Pacino thing and we all love it. And what I like about the MCU villains is they get people to come in and become that part. And my fear is that Al Pacino will always just be Al Pacino at this point. And I don't want to just see Al Pacinoing in the multiverse of madness. I'm thinking ahead for the next movie. Okay. So that's my reservation. So given the choice between those two, I would say Evan Peters, because I think Evan Peters would be able to transform himself as an actor and be willing. Pacino can. Pacino's an old man who gets paid millions of dollars to do Pacino things, and we love him for it. Yeah. So why would he change that? But I think Evan Peters could bring something to it that Pacino necessarily wouldn't. So that's my unpopular opinion here on the show.
No, that's fine. I think we just love Al Pacino, and we all do. All three of us do. But I think your points are valid. I can't disagree with those. I mean,
can you imagine what that would do for comic book movies if fucking Al Pacino showed up in a Marvel show and then went to be the main villain in a Doctor Strange movie? Do you have like? If I had told you that 15 years ago, you would have said, "Lock that man up." I mean. That's just batshit crazy talk from 15 years ago. And now we're talking about it. It's like, yeah, you know what? That kind of makes sense. I think that's possible.
So then after that whole scene with the rabbit, which I'm glad Tony reeled me in because I was probably going to like jump around with that, but we're sticking with chronological order. He pulled me back. Then we get the big reveal.
Ooh, can I do the reveal very concisely?
Yes.
Please do. Please.
It was Agatha all along.
Which is number one, by the way. That was fantastic.
Oh my God, that was beautiful.
Is number one on iTunes right now, by the way. They actually released the theme, and like,
I gotta get that shit.
And let me tell you something. I get that because I cannot stop listening to that 15-30 second little loop. There's not much to it, but it's like it's so catchy and it's so good, and it's so reminiscent of the Munsters. Like, remember that? Like, not just like the video of it. But if you listen to the Munsters theme song and you listen to the Agatha theme song, they very purposefully took from that, which was such a brilliant little nod. Like, it was again, like we've been saying that it's been Agatha all along, right? But this reveal took something that we all kind of just assumed was truth and made us go, oh, was it really? Because that's how good the reveal was.
So they're releasing every episode Every episode's got its own soundtrack. That's amazing.
Amazing.
It is.
Oh my God, that is so great.
Let me share with you guys something. So I watched this episode at 3:20 in the morning last Friday. Okay, because for some bizarre reason, wow, there it is.
Oh, it's so great. Oh, I love it. Oh,
So
that whole
I watched this at like 3:20 a.m. because I, for some reason, took a piss and then couldn't fall back to sleep, and I sort of was wide
I'm doing
awake.
that shit this week, bro. I'm staying up. I can't
decided
wait
to watch it. I decided to watch it. And you want to know what's funny is I looked at the clock, and it was like, I'm not kidding, I heard the Marvel intro in my head while I looked at the clock. It was so weird. And I'm like, I guess I should go. I'm wide awake. I should do this. And I watched the episode, and then all of a sudden the Agatha reveal comes. And I had to ask Angie the next day after we watched it again. I wasn't sure if that was real. I thought that was possibly in my head that I completely made this up. And I was dreaming. I'm like, I got out of bed, right? Like, I went to watch the show downstairs in our living room, right? And she's like, yeah, you had got up briefly, but she fell back to sleep. And I was like, all right, I'm glad that this whole reveal is real, because I actually started to question if it was real. That I completely made this shit up in my head.
Oh my God, that is
hilarious. Was so spectacular, so great. One of the greatest reveals in the history of the MCU of any twists that were there. But again, it's a twist that we saw coming from a mile away, but it was still fucking awesome.
Doesn't matter. They did it in such a way where knowing it didn't take anything away from how great the reveal was.
Yeah.
Like, and I need to amend something, because last week I almost strayed from the path of Agatha Harkness, and you guys talked me back into it. I appreciate that. Thank you. But in thinking about it, I realized what got me, and I realized what I misread this whole time. Right? Because my things with Agatha were the thing with Vision, and the 2 times I saw her have genuine fear. Right? Mm-hmm. What I've come to realize is she fears Vision. Right? That every time she had the genuine fear, it was because she saw Vision, or Vision had come over, or Vision was doing something to break the reality, right? Then she tries to get rid of Vision by convincing him to march out of the hex. And then they imply, right? Vision implies Wanda doesn't want him to get home. But what Wanda tells the kids is, your dad needs some time alone. I can't make him come home. And in the reveal of it was Agatha all along, we find out that it's actually Agatha conducting these Modern Family-like interviews.
Yep.
So I think it's Agatha trying to keep Vision away. Agatha meant for him to die. Mm-hmm. And then he didn't, and now she's trying to keep him away because whatever's going on here, Vision is the X factor. Vision is the thing that can undo it, and Vision is the thing she's afraid of. So I needed to justify my doubt in the Agatha Harkness theory by sort of looking back and figuring out what actually was going along. So that's my new call. Vision is the key to undoing this all.
I agree with you, but I think that there's one part of it that is different from what I've seen, is that so when they were doing the whole it was Agatha all along thing, there were 2 things that they showed you. They showed you that it was her that was remember when Vision first started to get an idea something was fucked up, right?
Yeah.
It was her and Herb outside, right? And she shows you that she did the thing where she controlled Herb's mind, right?
Yeah.
I think what that was that she wanted Vision to start to realize that something wasn't right here, okay? And then when she met him on that street like that, okay, this is the thing about, and this is the thing that we didn't talk about last week. So she's at that point, and she's in that comatose state, which everybody else was at that point, right? Mm-hmm. And then Vision touches her, and they're able to talk, and then he touches her again, and so on and so forth. But notice that she drives away. Nobody else is able to do that.
Yep.
Everybody else is still frozen in that position, but she's able to, I'm just going to go home, and she just drives away. She was there on purpose because she wanted him to go through that wall. So she's the one that planted this whole idea that things aren't right, Vision. You're not seeing everything. And all of those things that start happening. He intercepted the Darcy Lewis transmission. Mm-hmm. He gets to talk to Norm at the office, and he's starting to realize things are going on. And then all of a sudden Pietro shows up, this is all her playing it like, okay, we don't need you anymore. Get the fuck out, right? Get out. We don't need you anymore. And we want her. And I think that's what it is. I don't think that they wanted. I think they wanted the boys. They wanted to make sure that the boys had the abilities that they needed. And then once they had that, and they had no more, that was the scene where they were babies. So at that point, it was like, we got him, we got the kids, get him out of here, because now we don't need him anymore, and he's only going to cause problems.
Beefing him up from Mephisto, like pretty much stuffing the turkey, essentially.
Exactly. So they got what they wanted from him. They had the kids. Now the kids are here. Now just get out. Now we don't need him anymore. Get him out of here, because he can put a wrench into these things.
And he's the most dangerous one there to them, because he doesn't have a mind to control, right? I mean, he's the robot, I mean, essentially. So I think like when it comes down to it, if it's Mephisto, whatever, or whoever, even if it's something else cosmic behind it, Vision is still that X factor. He's still the thing you can't control, like you can control everyone else in the town, and even Wanda, as you said, Wanda has been succumbing more and more to the control of what's going on, while Vision continues to break away. So yeah, I think you're right. They needed to say, you've served your purpose. You can screw things up here. You got to die, or at least get the hell out of here and let us finish our plot.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was what she was doing all along. That she wasn't trying to mind control him. She's trying to dupe him into realizing to do the right thing. We all need help. You need to go get us help, knowing full well he walks through that wall, he ain't coming back.
Exactly, because you don't do those kind of things if you can pick up Mjolnir and be worthy, as we've learned in Age of Ultron, because he knew he was going to try to do the right thing. So I think the thing in there, so in that whole montage, reveal montage that we got, she is also on the lawn having a glass of wine and manipulating, puppeteering Pietro from when he showed up a couple episodes. Yeah, that was awesome. I think it's a misdirect. I don't think it's been Agatha solely all along.
No, of course.
She has done most of this. I don't think she was
at the behest of at the behest of somebody else.
Exactly. She's partnering up with executive decision, Mephisto. That's the pronunciation I'm sticking with. That's it. Mephisto is it. So I think there's a little slight misdirect in that thing that, she wasn't like, if we're going on the idea that Mephisto is Evan Peters, or like a version of Mephisto, obviously she wouldn't be puppeteering him, because that wouldn't make any sense. So I think there might be a slight misdirect to throw people off that trail, because that's what they do.
We also have to remember that particular vignette, that particular thing, was meant for Wanda, right?
Yes.
She enchants Wanda, and Wanda sees it. So we can't really trust anything in it. So you're absolutely right. She is not giving Wanda the full 100% story. And so that's the thing. We have to, everything in the Hex, we have to take with a grain of salt, because there is this, the MCU has told us this is a show that is going to mess with us, right? Because it's a show within a show. And so this was just Agatha telling Wanda what she wanted her to think. So you're right. I think it was Agatha all along, either with help or on behest of someone else, but she's not going to say that.
Right. Yeah, I don't think she's the big bad of this entire thing. So that brings us to one of the wild, insane theories that people have tried to share. So one of the sites that I had saw a theory on was Catherine Hahn, who played Agnes and Agatha Harkness, and we called who that was. She also did voice work for Olivia Octavius in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There was a theory being thrown around that she was Olivia Octavius in WandaVision.
What?
Yes. Exactly.
Is it because her date with Ralph that they got married was 8/8/88, or was it because she dressed as Dr. Octopus for Halloween? No, see, everything the MCU did was point to the witch.
Yes, the entire time they were smacking you in the face with it, and constantly like wham, 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 like just trying to let you know. Yes, Tony, your face right there is one of the stupid theories that I saw online, and I meant to say it last week, and I totally forgot. And now with the reveal, it had to be shared. Yes.
Did they explain where they got that from, other than the fact that she did a
multiverse?
Voice?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
That was what I was looking for. That's the reaction I was looking for to you guys.
Don't get me wrong. If there was something in the text of this show, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. But I look, we've picked apart this show. We've all watched this show multiple episodes, multiple times.
Yep.
There's nothing there that suggests that.
It's pure insanity.
Nothing.
It's pure insanity.
That's like, all right. If you had seen something, if there had been an Easter egg somewhere about something that had to do with this or whatever, like, but to just pull that shit out of a rabbit hat, that's poor. That's what I did. I did actually read something that was awesome, and it came from Reddit actually, which is just amazing to me. But so on Reddit, they were talking about the fact that this was the first episode that we got a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone's like, well, why the fuck wouldn't we get post-credit scenes for the first 6 episodes? Why do we have to wait till episode 7 to get it? And someone said the time now is between 2000 and 2010. And when did Marvel come out and start doing post-credit scenes? I was like, that shit is solid. I like that.
Clever.
Yeah, that is really solid. And that should get backed up if they do another post-credit scene after this episode. And then you're like, yes, that's exactly what that is from. But I thought that blew my mind. I was like, and I don't remember who posted that, but that was solid. I was solid on that. I like that.
I
like that.
That's awesome.
And if that's the case, I was just more reason to love Marvel and the stuff that they do, because that's the kind of stuff that we love here, is the details, and that's perfect.
Exactly. So regarding the details, though, there is one thing before we wrap up the WandaVision part. So there's a book that's seen in the basement, right? That's there. Now, the belief is that this book could be nothing, or it could be something. Now, there's another dark magic book that's been introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in the Runaways, which Runaways is the only Marvel property I gave up on, because I couldn't deal with it.
That says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because you guys know I'll just watch anything and just keep going with it, and that's it. But it was absurd. So though it's a Darkhold. The book is called the Darkhold, and it's a book of evil that's there, and that could be the Darkhold that's in there. Like, that was used to create, like, it had to do with Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was used to create the framework and everything that was on there. Yes. I
knew what you were talking about, because I went very deep into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. up until a certain point, and I watched all of that stuff. And I didn't put it together because I haven't watched that show in a while, but as you're talking about it, that could very well be the Darkhold, and that would be super cool.
And it's tied into...
Feige just said, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. happened. So that might have been him going, remember Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
It's possible. And that portion of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tied in with Doctor Strange as well. You did see, like, the circles and stuff and, like, popping up there, the portal thing. So it could be the Darkhold. It could not. It doesn't look exactly like it. But the other possibility that it could be is a book of evil that is seen in Evil Dead, that is seen across a bunch of things, being the Necronomicon. That's possible. There is a Necronomicon in Marvel Comics.
And they
go ahead.
They did do a one-off crossover where Ash comes to the Marvel with the Necromonica. I can't say it.
I think it's Necronomicon.
There you go. Thank you. And everyone turns into zombies, and he has to, like, kill a bunch of them and get the hell out of there. So not that they're doing that, but that would actually be kind of funny if it was that, considering that the Marvel has used this book before.
Yeah, and also, though, it's actually in the comics, Agatha has the Necronomicon at one point and tries to trick Wanda into using it, and Wanda's like, nah, it's too evil. Like, I'm not messing with that thing. So there is a precedence for this.
there's also one other thing that I thought of when I was watching this whole thing, because I told you I watched it like 3 times and I'm like completely hooked by this thing. But if you noticed, everything that Agatha does is that she's doing all of her magic. Like Wanda, she does her magic, it's red, right?
Yeah.
When Agatha is doing her thing, it's purple, right? Which they go above and beyond to show you. If you remember back to the original Doctor Strange, when Caecilius, his eyes go, what color is that? Purple.
Oh,
Dark
good,
magic, essentially.
good
Exactly.
pull. Good,
Exactly.
great pull, Tony. I would not have caught that.
Well, we also said though too
after 3 times, I'm like, where the fuck did I see that before? And then going through the memory banks, I'm like, yes, that's what it was. So yeah, that's what it made me think of. And look, it took me to the end of episode, the second time going through the episode to get to that. So don't feel bad.
We did also mention though in the first episode when we broke down episodes 1 and 2 of WandaVision that in the comics now, Agatha Harkness is part of the Dark Dimension, which was a prominent player in Doctor Strange. So
right with Dormammu and everything.
Yeah, and I know some people were trying to throw out some Power Stone shit. The Infinity Stones are gone.
No, they're gone. They're gone.
Stop it. I think they're gone.
I'm interested. I am interested to find out why Vision has the stone in his head. Even when he was outside the hex, he still had it. So I am very interested to see how that thing plays out, because we all know that the Mind Stone went back. Okay, so that I want to see how that plays out. But yeah, everything that you have at this point tying something back to an Infinity Stone, just start forgetting that shit, because it's over with. Like they're done. The Infinity Saga is over. You are not with unless we're lucky enough to at some point in time get a Captain America movie where we can find out how he brought all those stones and got them back to where they were, because I want to see that movie really, really bad.
See him and Red Skull at that thing. And then
let's just write the script and just like force our way into Feige's office, because I gotta see that movie. I have to.
I really want to see just the interaction between him and Red Skull. Like how'd you wind up here? I don't know. I was just trying to get the stones. You have to sacrifice. So I'm just putting it back. Okay, like it would just be awkward. They wouldn't fight. It would just be an awkward conversation. Like, because what are they gonna do? They're not enemies anymore at that point. Red Skull is lost there.
Well, the funny part is, the funny part is that if when Funko, which we learned last week with the Pietro Maximoff thing with the air quote, the quotes on the box, when they released the Red Skull pop from Endgame, it was not named Red Skull, it was named the Stonekeeper.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
So I don't think he's the Red Skull anymore. I think he's just the Stonekeeper.
Interesting.
Tony, you're not going to poo-poo on my vision of what I see it as, because the way I see it is that he goes back to Vormir, and he sees him, and you know how like he likes to go into his Natasha, son of blah 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 blah. I don't know, daughter of blah blah blah. Be like, Steve Rogers, son of a bitch, you're still alive. How did this happen?
That was Thor's line from when he saw Serta.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch, you're still alive. Like that was a great line, perfectly done. It was
absolutely hilarious.
I love that line.
I am going to say this though. I think we are definitely done with the Infinity Stones for a long time. I'm not going to discount them forever though, because we got the Adam Warlock tease at the end of Guardians 2, but we never got Adam Warlock. And as we know, Adam Warlock heralds in the Infinity War in the comics. So
Watch and all of that,
with the Infinity Watch, yeah. So I'm not saying, I don't think we should say it's done for good and forever, but I think we should say it's not happening in this phase.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go right back to it. I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, I think it's just. I think we're heading. Steam. Steam full, head full of steam into Secret Wars is really where I think where this whole thing is headed. So, but yeah, I agree with you. But I love the fact that they did Infinity Gauntlet. Now they're really retracing House of M here. It's they're just hitting on so many great storylines right now. I love it.
Yeah. So so then we shift gears to our final segment here, and we've done our DCEU, going through it, and we decided to, as a group, we decided, something, we're going to leave Justice League in a chronological order. We're going to skip Justice League and leave Justice League, the Justice League, and leave that for right before we get Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that brings us to Aquaman, a movie that I was excited for. I mean, it was right after Justice League, and it was released a year later, so they were taking a lot of time off. Probably a smart move, being that the reaction to Justice League or Justice League is what it is, and pissed a lot of people off. But then Aquaman comes out a year later, and I mean, it's a movie about friggin' Aquaman, who has been a running joke for many, many years on the Super Friends and all of that, like riding the dolphins and stuff, like the goofiest character you can imagine. But they're like, nah, you know something? We're going to make it a surfer dude. We're going to kind of change him a bit. Or we're going to make him Jason Momoa, who's like one of the most badass looking guys you could possibly find. So that's the Aquaman we got. And I think there's an interesting thing an interesting theme before we get into like strengths and weaknesses and stuff is the comparisons to like Black Panther, just as an overall story, right? Like, so with Aquaman, we have, the considered, what do they call him, like the half-breed or whatever, who's on the outside, who's technically the rightful heir to the throne, who's coming back to take over, to reclaim his throne from the, natural born, Atlantean. And then with Black Panther, the natural born one was the hero who was running, Wakanda. And then the half-born was the one who's trying to come back and make an unjust rightful claim for the throne and stuff like that. So I think there's some cool comparisons right there. That's that with one versus the other. Overall, my strengths for Aquaman, I mean, I dig the movie. I like it. I've seen it 1,000 times on like TNT and HBO because they ran it to death. Momoa is a huge strength for me. The choice to reimagine Aquaman, an incredible choice in my opinion. As a badass beer drinking dude, was solid. And I think the original costume when he comes out of the waterfall, you made that costume look cool in my opinion, which I didn't even think it was going to be a thing. Way better than his Justice League weird costume that we got. That I don't know what that was exactly, but whatever. I think the visuals for the movie are amazing. This movie is actually giving us something that Marvel has not given us yet. Because we don't have a Name of the Samaritan movie at this point. So, DCEU gives us underwater Star Wars, if you want to say, or call it whatever it is, that there's a whole world in Atlantis and we get to see like this wild stuff. I thought the visuals were amazing. The action sequences, the chase sequences were really cool. Fights well choreographed. And I was super excited to see Dolph Lundgren and Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
And yeah, Dolph Lundgren back. And come on, like you can go wrong with Dolph Lundgren, but because you can see the Punisher when we do, but then you can see this, and you get a good Dolph Lundgren. And then Tamora Morrison, who is Boba Fett to just about everyone, including us. But to see him as the dad, and like he was like a guy you kind of just like dug. Like he was just like, it was awesome to just see him there. Like, holy shit, it's Boba Fett, and he is, or Jango Fett at that point. He is Aquaman's dad. Jason, what were your strengths for Aquaman, or just over,
So I'll give you the biggest strength for Aquaman, and I'm not going to bury the lead. I love this movie. This is a lot of fun. Yes. I watched this for the first time since I saw it with you in the theater and last night, because I realized I always watch the Blu-rays when I get them, but I also like impulse buy a lot of Blu-rays, and I forget I bought them and I run out of time, and I just don't watch them. So it was still in the plastic. So I realized it's only the second time I've seen this movie. This movie is a lot of fun. And I think the most brilliant thing this movie does is it understands what the average passive Aquaman fan or person who knows Aquaman knows about Aquaman, right?
Yeah.
This is what I know about Aquaman. That's why I've never been excited about him. Oh, he was on the Super Friends, and he had this really weird skin tight costume, and he talked to fish. and he was always in the water, and he was like this blonde-haired sort of, yes, truth, justice. He was like a blonde-haired fish Superman, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people who don't read comics or don't read Aquaman comics, because I'm sure Bear right now is going crazy in the comments because he's been an Aquaman guy since high school when I first met him. We first met him, and he's been trying to get me like, no, they cut his hand off and gave him a hook. No, he's really dark now. He's really cool. And I just like, all right, but it's Aquaman. But the fact is, they knew what the average, even comic book reader who is not necessarily an Aquaman fan knew about Aquaman. And they went, we're going to subvert all of your expectations here. Oh, you're expecting an all-American blonde-haired Superman in the sea? No, you're going to get Jason Momoa, who's super damn charming. I mean, super charming. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be this kind of like, he's going to look badass and be kind of a brawler type who has a little intelligence or a lot of intelligence. He's actually very smart. Yeah. But also, like, you think he's going to be something and he isn't. And that is portrayed perfectly in the very first, not the very first scene, but one of the first scenes, first half an hour, where he meets those guys in the bar and they're like, hey, fish boy. No, it's fish guy. What do you want? Oh, I'll tell you what I want. We take a picture. And then you get that really cool montage of like awkward picture. We're drinking. We're having fun. Like, that's that movie. You expect something to happen, and they go, no, this is good. Like, what's the one thing everyone made fun of Aquaman for? He talks to fish, right? Well, who cares about that? He talks to fish. No, this movie goes, yeah, you know what? The whole reason Aquaman succeeds in his goddamn mission is because he could talk to fish. Deal with it. It's cool now. And I was like, no, that was cool. That was actually, he went and talked to this deep sea creature and got it on his side. Absolutely cool. So the beauty of this movie is it knows what people expected from an Aquaman movie and intelligently gave them something to subvert their expectations and make even the people like me who had zero interest in Aquaman. I only saw this movie, Ed, because it was a comic book movie and you invited me to see it in the theater because I'm just not an Aquaman guy, but I'm so glad I did. It was such a big strength. Other strengths, the cast. Willem Dafoe, not as a crazy Willem Dafoe, but as we forget Willem Dafoe can act. We forget Willem Dafoe's actually a very talented actor when he restrains himself, and that's what we get here, right? Again, subverting expectations. We get so many great moments of character for Aquaman, where he's mourning his mother, where him and his dad have this moment like at the bar where they're having a drink, and then there's just the relationships. It adds such dimensions to the character that I don't think people saw it had, and I think that is this movie's biggest strength. On top of the fact that it's just super fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I think Aquaman, like, overall, that's a perfect way to describe it, Jason, is just that it's a fun movie that doesn't take itself super seriously at all, but it's serious when it needs to be. You know what I mean? Like, they're not satiring Aquaman whatsoever. No. They're just, like you said,
Aquaman's not a chump at all. Aquaman is just not what you expect him to be. And there's a sense of humor in this movie that I didn't expect. And so that's where I think it comes through. Sorry to interrupt.
No. Absolutely. That's it. Tony, well, I mean, I know you're Aquaman's, high on your list also. I think actually probably higher than we've had it. What were your strengths that what sells the movie for you? What brought you in?
I love this movie. I really do. I loved the casting of Momoa. I just there was an interview that Zack Snyder had done early on, and people were, I guess they were, asking about, oh, you have an Aquaman or whatever in the movie. And he was like, bro, man, let me tell you something. He goes, Aquaman is badass, and he is going to be badass in this movie. And I was like, yes. And then when I played Injustice for the first time, and you got Arthur Curry with that trident, and I was like, this fucking guy is awesome. Like, if there was a movie about this guy, like, this would be great. This is not some guy who's jet skiing on a bunch of fucking dolphins. This is a formidable warrior right here. Like, this is the Aquaman that I want. Well, that's the dude that we got, right? We got that guy. The one thing about this movie that pisses me off is that we didn't get it before Justice League, because he would have been, if we got this movie first, people would be like, Justice League would have made $1 billion just because Aquaman would have come out first, because they would have been like, I gotta see more of that guy. He's in Justice League. I'm going. Yeah. And that's the only problem I have with, that's the only thing that makes me mad about this movie. The strengths I have for it, Momoa is top notch. Nicole Kidman, oh my God, dude. You talk about an actress of the ability that Nicole Kidman is, that she has, right? And to see her play Queen Alana like she did, you're like, oh God, like she's into it. This is not a paycheck for her. She's like, this is a deep character. I want in on this. I love that about it. The chemistry that she has, right, with Arthur's father is just, it's top notch. They're together for like the first 10 minutes of the movie. You're like, I fucking love these people. Like I want more of this. Like the action sequence with her when she's taking on, when she's taking on King Atlan's death squad that came to come get her. Like that was just sick. As you said, Ed, the visuals in this movie are unbelievable. I don't think I ever watched it in 4K. I think I had only seen it. I obviously saw it in IMAX when it came out, and I had seen it, I think, on Blu-ray. I don't think I had a 4K TV when it first came out. I bought the 4K version, but I don't think I had the 4K TV yet. So this is the first time I actually watched it in 4K. And I think I texted you guys, and I'm like, bro, this movie is just unbelievable. It is. When whoever designed high definition and 4K, this was the shit that they had in mind when they did it, because it was just, it's beauty. It is absolute beauty. When you get that first look into Atlantis, I was blown away. I was like, this is just awesome.
The whole night vision stuff that you talk about.
It was just great. And the way he explains everything, that kind of leads into my next point. James Wan did an unbelievable job. How we all were wondering, like, how the hell are they going to have conversations underneath the water? Like, how the hell is he going to do this? When then we saw Justice League, and like, oh, they're going to have that little bubble, and everybody's going to be in a bubble. They're going to talk. No, James Wan was like, no, fuck that, man. I got this. They breathe the water, and I was like, holy shit, that makes total sense. Why didn't I think of that? And then the scene that they had with Dolph Lundgren and King Orm, and then they have the two nations across from each other, the sharks and the seahorses. I was like, oh, let's just go at it right now. Like, let's see it, and it was from there. It went on from there. The acting, like you said, the casting, I thought the relationship that he had with Amber Heard, like in the beginning, like you saw like that little babe in the woods kind of thing from her, even though she's got, and I was like, is this her just not acting well or whatever? But you see as the movie goes on and she becomes more and more realized that, that there's the world on the surface is not what she's been led to believe is actually there. And, she starts to turn, she starts to mature almost as a character as the movie goes on. And then you get to the scene with the trench. And I was like, bro, this scene with the trench was fucking dope, bro. Oh my God. Like, they were fucking terrifying to see. And that scene where they're jumping on a boat and he's got, it's just, and they're in the water, they're chasing him. Like, that whole scene was outstanding. Now, I took my son to see this movie, and I think came out in 2018, right? So he's going to be 9. So I guess he was 6 when I took him to see it, right? And he doesn't get afraid by stuff like this. Like, this dude watched Amazing Spider-Man like at 3 years old and was totally into the whole thing, right? Lizard and all. So I said to him when we sat down, I'm like, look, there's one scene where you might get a little scared. I said, so just, don't be afraid. I said, just you'll be okay. But there might be one scene. So we get through like 3/4 of the movie. We get past the trench scene, and at one point he like whispers to me. He goes, when's the scene where I'm gonna get scared? And I'm like, yes, that's my boy. That's my boy right there.
Nice.
So, but it was he This kid talked about this movie the entire way home. He loved it. I loved it. But that scene in the trench was awesome. I thought the whole story of the Trident, him using the Trident to beat Orm to win over Atlantis. It was just the whole movie to my, was just fun. Like you said, it was a fun movie to watch. It was done well. It was, like you said, didn't take itself too seriously, but took a character, but was an afterthought, which was a joke, kind of like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a jokey kind of thing that Marvel had and whatnot, and they turned it into something real. And this is the Aquaman that we have now. I can't imagine anybody else pulling it off the way Momoa did, and I hope that this guy plays his part for years to come because he is fucking awesome in this role.
I apologize. I know I was looking around. Apparently, my 11-month-old puppy Marvel made her way into the room for some reason. I heard her barking out there, and I don't know. She's setting up shop, laying down now. I guess she's just going to listen to the rest of the show.
She was curious. She hasn't seen. You got to show her Aquaman. She hasn't seen Aquaman yet.
Yeah, I think she fell asleep when she was watching it, but I think that was because she was at the park running around and wrestling with her buddies that she treats like Thanos or whatever. No, I think your points about the trench are great. I mean, I think that's where you get to see James Wan and his horror background really shine, and it's that. And I know earlier in this episode I mentioned that I'm not really that interested in seeing an entire movie about the trench because I'm like, yeah, I guess this was about their origin, maybe, but
that's what I'm thinking it would be. And I think that would be awesome to find out how they got from one of the most powerful kingdoms to where they are right now. I would love to see, and especially if it has something to do with the fact that Atlan and the Trident they're essentially protecting it. So I would love to see that. So if that's what that story is about, I'm in. And I mean, and James Wan proved to me that if he's doing more of this stuff, I'm into it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm also talking out of my ass because I mean, I will be there because it's a comic book movie and it's DCU. But like,
yes,
whatever.
We'll be there together opening night.
Yeah, we'll be there opening night, and we'll be there to judge it and all this other crap and blah blah blah. So, whatever.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix. There you go, Dark Phoenix, pal. That's
Dark
all
Phoenix,
I gotta tell you.
and I saw Fan Four Stick. So whatever, it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
But I knew what it was. I knew what I was walking into. But it's like the train wreck that you can't. You have to just see it. So the weaknesses for me for Aquaman. I mean, the movie doesn't take itself seriously, obviously, but I still think the humor was kind of a mixed bag, at least for me personally. Like, there's some things where it seems like some jokes were came off a little goofy or forced, like they were just there to be there. Again, not something that drags it down tremendously. It was just watching it again. I was like, all right, that seemed like it was a little just bizarre. The plot is what it is. It's fine, and I do like the fact that it doesn't take itself seriously. But I just kind of watching it this time, I thought to myself, this is a very like video game plot. It was like, hey, welcome to this part. You're in the Sahara. You can get this thing, but you're gonna have to go to X place to get this, and then go to here to get this, and then like globe-trotting adventure. But it's fine. Again, I admit these are very small nitpicks of it. If we're deep diving into this. So the two things also. So why does King Orm know that Volko has been training Arthur for all these years to overtake him and to reclaim the throne, but yet keeps him around and didn't decide to stop him at some point? Like, you let him train Arthur to this entire time to get close enough to actually show up to Atlantis when you could have just nixed this. You could have nit this in the butt years ago and ended this whole thing.
I think that was done on purpose, actually, because I think that he was so overconfident that he would never, that this half-breed would never be able to do that, and he would never be the rightful king or quote-unquote ocean master until he defeated him, and that he was completely out of the picture. So I think he wanted him to show up because he blamed him for his mother's death. He blamed him for the shame of what she did, and he wanted him to come because he wanted to kill him, and he never thought for a minute that he would be able to defeat him. That was just his arrogance, and you saw that in the last fight scene. So I honestly think, that shit was done on purpose.
Oh, and that's fair. I mean, if that's the case, I just thought it was just something I thought was just a little bit strange. That I don't know why it jumped out to me this time around after I don't know how many times I've seen the damn movie, but that's what it was. But there's one thing that's kind of irked me since day one. It's Black Manta. Black Manta looks great. He looks really cool. Right? That whole scene with the submarine and his father, really great scene. But that's not my problem with it. My problem is the choice to use Black Manta in this movie. It almost is like, I'm watching that submarine scene, and obviously I know how the movie plays out. I'm like, how great would this be if this was the opening scene of Aquaman 2?
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of feel like he was in this movie, kind of shoehorned in, just to set up the sequel. You know what I mean? Like, he's obviously there's a bigger payoff coming down the road. We get that from the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, and I get that. But I kind of think you could have taken all those Black Manta scenes, and that could have been the start of a sequel, and you could have expanded on that, a lot more in that. I mean, that was just kind of my feeling. And he's treated as like an inconvenience. He's just kind of like shows up. He's like, "Oh, I'm Black Manta," and Aquaman just like kind of like beats the crap out of him. Get out of here. He comes back is like, "Oh, you're not going to get rid of me. I'm Black Manta," and then kicks the crap out of him again in Italy. I mean, that was just my thing. I was like, couldn't you just save that for the sequel? And I would have done. I mean, we're going to get more of him in the sequel. That's a given. But I don't know. That was the only thing where you could have chopped off a good 20 minutes of this movie and just saved that for the future. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
I'm like, no, just because the thought is in my head. But I honestly think if they would have given you that opening sequence in the submarine, right? They would have went the whole thing. He gives him the knife, right? And like he gives it the reveal, the manta. That's obviously where they're going to get it from. They set that up from the very, very beginning. If they would have just left it at that, and then the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene would have been them going to him and saying, "Hey, this you got a delivery, right?" And then it opens up the case and it's from King Orm and it's the shit that's in the box.
Yeah.
Then it would have been like, then you put it on the road to being Black Manta.
Much more
like
powerful.
Exactly. Like you could have just set it up for Aquaman 2. You didn't have to throw him into this whole thing, considering that he kicks his ass, breaks the helmet, and sends him off, into the ocean. Like, okay, well, like what? Now he's more pissed off. Like he was pissed off before. Like all he needed was the death of his father, and that should have just been the end of it. You could have done that whole scene in Sicily with them going through the town, which was an awesome scene, by the way, right? But if you could have done that whole thing, just having Orm's guys looking for Mira, and that would have been that scene would have been just as good without Manta being there, but. You didn't. You had to throw that part in there. You had to give the whole thing with him trying to figure the helmet out and this and that or whatever. Like he just kept popping up in this movie. It wasn't necessary. Do the opening scene, give him the post-credit scene, set it up for the sequel. That's all you needed.
And what is one last thing before my weaknesses just regarding Black Manta again? What the hell was with us getting a villain? Let's say he's the secondary villain. He gets his own training montage. With the music and everything, where he's doing like building thing. Like I thought that was just a little bit bizarre. I mean, I just thought it was funny. But again, we agree that the three of us agree like the movie does not take itself super serious, and that's fine. Maybe that was a part of it. Again, though, I just think that those are things that could have just been focused more on in the sequel. That they were just like, no, we have to get this out now. We can't wait for it. Jason, go ahead. What are your weaknesses from?
Well, that ties in perfectly with my one biggest weakness to this movie is I think it's about 20 to 30 minutes too long. I like what we get, and look, I enjoy the ride. Even the extra stuff that I don't think should be there. I'm enjoying it, but I think this movie is longer than it needs to be, and I think a lot of that stuff comes in two places. I think the Black Manta stuff needs to either be removed or severely cut down, like Tony said, and sort of you get a little bit in the beginning. And I don't think we should get as much as we did in the beginning. We got that beginning with Black Manta is pretty long, and considering he's just a secondary guy who gets his ass kicked halfway through the movie, and then the training montage, like I think you get a little taste of Black Manta in the beginning, and then you get him getting that suit at the end, so you set up the sequel. I think that's all you need of him. I think you cut 20 to 30 minutes out of this movie, and it's even better because there are parts that I watch and I enjoy the movie a lot, but there are parts where I go, this is kind of a bit long. This part here is lagging for me. Like even some of the battle scenes. I mean, I think the battle scenes are beautiful, but I think they're less is more sometimes. Like, and I'm thinking particularly the stuff in the trench. There's some great stuff in the trench, right? But we have a whole battle scene before Arthur even comes up from the trench, and it's a pretty long battle scene. And I think it's cool, and a lot of it should be there, but I don't know if we need the whole thing. And I just think if I'm gonna ding this movie on anything, it's just it. And I don't want to ding this movie on anything because I really enjoy it. But I think if it had a bit more restraint and a bit more editing and just cut itself down a bit, I think it would have resonated, or it would have been a bit more impactful with what it was doing. Because again, I do think parts of it do lag, and parts of it I do go, well, what is going on there? And I did have one question. It was a logical question I got over very quickly, but in the very beginning, before Aquaman's even born, when Nicole Kidman washes up and she decides to stay, and she knows they're going to come for them, why do they continue living in a lighthouse by the ocean? Why not just move to a landlocked state? I mean, we already know that Atlantis cannot declare war on the surface world without this huge thing of all of the kingdoms being together. And it's not really, unless you're going to declare full-scale war, I don't really see them being able to send soldiers who cannot breathe the air to go get your queen back in a state that is literally nowhere near ocean. It's a small thing, but it was something I kind of questioned, like, well, why didn't you just move away from the ocean? You could still be together. But whatever.
I mean, if you're a lighthouse keeper, I'm assuming that's all you know how to do is be a lighthouse keeper. So I mean, that's the only thing. So I mean, I would assume that you had to be by water. I mean, he's still doing it at the end of the movie, so he's been living in that lighthouse for his whole life.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're choosing the lighthouse over your love, and that's fine. But then don't complain to me.
Gotta pay the bill.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a small stupid thing. My biggest thing was just I think it should have been a bit shorter. That's all.
No, I'm fully agreed with you. And personally, I would have taken out the Black Manta stuff, saved that, and boom, you got a much tighter film, in my opinion. Tony, do you have any other weaknesses that we have not discussed? Or
I just like I said, just cleaning up some of the things. Like I think a couple of I think a couple of the battle sequences are a little long. The scene in Sicily, I thought was a little long. Like, they gave the fight between him and Black Manta, and then, her going the rooftop. It seemed like she went through like every roof in that little Sicilian town, which is just crazy. So, like you said, a couple of things. I thought Momoa's lines all hit. I really did, about the, like, why don't we just pee on it type of thing. And like, that was just like, he was a smart ass, and it was just perfect. Like, I thought that was great. But the scene, and I know the scene you're talking about, because I know we talked about it when the movie came out, but when the guy stuck his head in the toilet, like, that was just, that's wasted space. Like, that's just now you're getting into potty humor in the middle of a an Aquaman movie. There's no reason for that. So that could have went. I thought that the underwater sequence before he shows up, I thought was probably about 5 minutes too long, and there's a lot going on in that scene. Like, there's some points where when I was seeing it in IMAX, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Who's what? I had no idea until he showed up on that giant like Kraken thing that he showed up on. So, I thought that was just a little too long. Like, you could have shaved off a few minutes here and there, and the movie would have been perfectly fine. I thought the submarine scene was perfect. I thought the length was perfect. You shows him, you get to see his ability. You get to see how, he's lethal. I mean, he's just, he's beating the shit out of these guys. Takes the one guy and he's like wrapping him against the wall, a couple of different times. Like, that was meant to show you his strength, to kind of show you him in action against humans, not just against parademons, which is what you'd seen him in the movie earlier. So I thought that scene was done really, really well. The other stuff they probably could have just cut down. Like you said, a couple of stupid things here and there that they did. But other than that, I really felt that this movie was a complete movie. It had some humor. It had backstory. It had relationships. It had emotion in it. And it had awesome visuals. So it's why it's high on my list. It's not. Is it an Academy Award winner? Absolutely not. But it's a movie that you can go to and sit there for 2.5 hours and be like, this is awesome. This is great. And I'm really excited for them to get Aquaman 2. And I can't wait to see him in Zack Snyder's, because if he's even remotely like he is in James Wan's movie, oh my God, that's going to be great.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agreed. Yeah, I think I wanted to shout out two things about this film while we wrap it up. I'm gonna butcher the. Damn it! I gotta stop butchering names. The guy who Jamon Hounsu, he's an actor who's in this movie who plays a very small part. He's the leader of the Bree, I believe it is, that they just kill and take him out 2 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Demon Hansu. He's Guardians of the Galaxy.
We're also going to talk about. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's also the wizard in Shazam. That I cannot wait to get to next week.
Yes. I love Shazam. Yep.
Two characters, very quick though. That apparently die very fast. And then he's also in Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's making the rounds. But he's also not the only actor, because we also saw.
And I totally forgot that Jimmy fucking Woo is in this movie.
Yes, he is. Jimmy Woo is in this movie.
Who's being set up to be a fairly major player in the sequel to work with, as Dr. Stephen Shin in this film. And the fact that we're covering WandaVision and loving him as Jimmy Woo at the same time, it was pretty. It brought a smile to my face just to see him on screen. In a different light in this thing, and that he's going to be a DCEU villain, which is kind of crazy when you think about it for a second.
Right, exactly.
Before we get signing off, I'm going to just throw out Rick's other comment there because he's dubbed us the Wednesday Warriors for life after calling us the Tuesday Titans on during the week on our Facebook page. He also wanted to throw in a random comment that original Punisher is better than Punisher Warzone, which we will get to those. But I do got to ask. Oh yeah, Warzone is something special. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I just want to know: is he talking about the Thomas Jane Punisher, or are we talking about Dolph Lundgren Punisher? My guess, he's talking about Dolph Lundgren Punisher because
he's probably talking Dolph.
That would be the original. The original Punisher was Dolph Lundgren.
Yep.
So that's an interesting thing that we'll get to at some point. So we're gonna pretty much that's our time for tonight. Thank you for sticking with us in this. Next week we'll be getting into the next episodes. WandaVision episode 8. Black Lightning's continuing. Batwoman's continuing. We'll get another episode of Superman and Lois, and we get the season premiere of The Flash to talk about as well. So the CW verse is expanding and expanding and expanding, and it's just it's a bit, but it's fine. I'm good with it. I like The Flash, so I'm pretty excited to see where that goes, and they wrap up their story arc that they didn't get a chance to wrap up last season because it was cut short due to COVID. So Tony, Jason, had a blast with you guys as always. If you're a fan of Pop Culture Pros on Facebook, or if you're watching us on YouTube or on Instagram or wherever the heck it is, thank you for that. Check out the other shows. Check out Jada and Kyle. I'm not sure when they're on this week as well. I know that Empire 161 is hopefully going to be coming back soon. We had we announced it 2 weeks in a row, but we had to cancel due to unforeseen circumstances. But we're trying to get that show out to you guys ASAP. Put it in the books. The Met show that was on before us. That was probably going to be our lead-in on Wednesday nights for a bit until the baseball season starts. And then A to Z, who's the Monday show. They've been he's got a producer. He's got Dave as his producer now, and they're kicking ass on Monday. So nice job for those boys. But until next week, enjoy some comic book stuff. Read them, watch them, do whatever the heck you got to do with it. And we'll see you guys next week, man. Take it easy.
Take care, guys.